Why do I read?
I live in two worlds. One is a world of books.
For me, it's books, books, books.
The mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
I guess people like to read about the things that they want most and experience the least.
Books feed me.
Once upon a time.
I read it in a book once.
Is this a kissing book?
I don't care. I'm not ashamed of my book.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
I checked this out weeks ago, forbidden like reading.
Books! You have never interested me more.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think.
I love that book.
I hated that book.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Don't read this book.
Those books are good. This might be the best book I've ever read.
I'm gonna go read.
Go ahead, read.
Why do I read? I read because this world is modeled after me.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello, everyone. Welcome to March. Where it is March.
Welcome to March. Actually, it's almost April.
Welcome to our March episode, but it's our March episode.
It's our March book selection. Onyx Storm. So.
Oh my gosh. This week, this month, I am ready to talk about this book. I'm super ready.
Yes.
To get into this.
I've been done with it a little longer than you have, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, I actually just finished it yesterday and finished my notes today, so it is very fresh. I'm very fresh off of it, and I'm kind of glad because I didn't have to wait as long to spill all of my guts to you.
Well, I waited to do my notes, though, so that it would be more fresh. It's a really great way to, review.
It really is.
Yeah.
And honestly, this book is so long that, even by the time I was, doing my notes and going over my initial notes, I was like, oh, yeah. Wow. I feel like I've been reading this book for forever. Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros.
Yes.
Sigh.
Lita. What?
Lita.
What?
Did you like the book?
No. Did you?
No.
We're going to get into it. I can't wait.
Oh, you guys, this is... I think we should, the disclaimer from pretty much here on out, I can pretty much guarantee it's just going to be just a roast. So for any of you who loved Onyx Storm, we love that journey for you, and I'm happy that is what you got out of it, but it's not what you're going to find here. So, or just stick around and know that we all just love books and we all love stories, and sometimes there'll be different ones that we love and
we all have different opinions, and that's okay.
And we do.
And there was a lot of people that love this book and are very passionate about their love for this book. So this is your disclaimer. You don't have to agree with us or take our journey that we had with us, but we would love it if you did.
Yes.
Spoiler
Absolutely.
alert.
Well said. Well said, friend.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
We're going to talk about Onyx Storm in every single one of its pages, plot points, characters, plot twists. There's nothing that we won't be discussing in the book. So if you have not read this book yet and you want to read this book and you don't want it spoiled for you, pause it, go read it, and then come back and join us. And if you don't plan on reading it, you stick around. We're going to talk all about it, and you can walk away feeling like you have read it.
Yeah. Also, we're going to talk about all the things. Anything triggering. We might trigger you. We don't know. We cuss. We don't care. Welcome. Welcome to the party.
There's adult content.
Yes.
All the things.
You have been spoiler alerted.
Very good.
Hold for applause.
This book, where to begin?
Where to begin?
Where to begin?
Let's begin with the synopsis.
Oh, that's a good spot to start.
And you can take the reins on this one, because I will butcher it to death.
No, I prepared something.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, ready to go. I got it in the bag, yo. Okay, here we go. Synopsis / little bit of a recap, too, on Iron Flame, since we're in our third installment of this series. So we pretty much pick up right where we leave off from Iron Flame. Xaden has turned Venin to take on the Sage. And the Venin are the ones that like channel from the earth and take magic that isn't theirs, and then they slowly turn into evil magic stealing zombies that feed on magic instead of brains. And we see him talk to Jack Barlow about a cure, potentially. And Jack Barlow was Violet's nemesis from the last couple books that we thought she killed off in Fourth Wing, but is revealed to be alive in Iron Flame because he also changed to survive, and he tells Xaden like, nah, bro, you're fucked. You're just one of us now. So open to Onyx Storm, and Violet overhears this exchange, which puts her in her only mindset of the book, which is, I will save him. And Xaden's only mindset of the book is, I can't be saved, and we both know it. I can never touch you again until I do. They do this dance throughout the book in addition to previous love interests and arbitrary codex rules attempting to thwart their love. And Xaden, despite being an initiate Venin, which only Violet and a couple other inner circle members know at this point, cue her keeping secrets from all of her friends again.
Yeah, but not for very long, because she's fucking terrible at it.
Yeah. And despite the fact that they previously abandoned the system of Basgiath for the revolution, Xaden is now elevated to from graduate to professor at Basgiath overnight.
Well, not just that, he's a duke.
Yeah, despite everyone's like disdain and distrust of him, and despite being the son of the leader of that rebellion headed by Tyrandor and being a leader of the Marked Ones, he's just given back his family's title, so he's now the Duke of Tyrandor.
Duke!
The Duke
of Tyrandor! The Duke of Tyrandor!
Now he's a full-fledged member of the Cenarium, aka basically the UN.
Oh, is that how you
all
say
the
that?
world leaders. Seranium.
I was saying Sereninen.
It's a word.
It's not Sereninen? Okay.
It's not, no. So, I mean, that's a lot of titles. So now Duke, Writer, Professor, Councilman, Darkwielder, Shadow Daddy Ryerson will struggle to keep the darkness at bay while Violet hunts for a cure. Meanwhile, we found out that one of Violet's dragons, Andarna, is actually an Irid, which is a seventh previously unknown breed of dragon, that she was able to kill a Venin with her fire, and that only her kind can refire the ward stones that are needed to keep the Venin at bay. So they form a posse to go around the world in 80 days to the mysterious isles to look for them and to try to secure allies for the war.
To look for that breed.
That breed of dragon.
Yeah.
Thus setting off the series of side quests that will be filling the large majority of our story.
They also have not been seen since the Great War. And that's where we begin our story.
Are you drinking?
I
wasn't planning on drinking tonight, but, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna need a stiff drink to get through this. Stiff.
I've got my wine, which I'll be drinking after my energy drink, because I want to get pumped while I'm angry. That's how I'm feeling right now. Because that is exactly how I started this book. I was immediately angry. immediately angry. And the reason I was immediately angry is because Xaden has just turned Venom, and we do a 2 week time jump.
2
without
weeks.
one conversation between him and Violet about what has happened.
That
2
is
weeks.
literally my first note. I said, like, already, literally chapter 1, unnecessary time jump instead of anyone actually talking about anything.
My first note is on chapter 2, page 17. Still haven't even spoken to Xaden or had one conversation with him. They've been sleeping in the same bed, by the way, too. They've been sleeping in the same bed at Basgiath and everything. Not one conversation was shown. My note is, what the fuck? Why? So annoyed already that we don't get one conversation after 2 weeks since he turned Venom. This is so bizarre to me to skip this. I cannot express how disappointing this was. It made me immediately angry, and I wanted to stop reading the book and DNF from the very beginning just because of this.
100% agree. That it almost hit me sooner than that, even before chapter 1. The page with the list of triggers already had me like, oh my god, here we fucking go. Had me laughing out loud before it even started because poisoning was on the list of triggers.
Can I just say that before you talk about the triggers, I don't know how you feel about this, but just about triggers in general, I never read the trigger pages because I hate for anything to be spoiled for me. So, like, I always skip the trigger pages. So I love it when you say things like that because I'm like, oh man, I didn't read that. Like, what does it say? Because I always forget to go back and read the trigger page.
Okay, well, let me read you the trigger page and you'll know immediately why I started laughing.
Oh god.
I'm gonna skip through a few of it. It's a long list of things, but then we get to poisoning that are shown on page. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna have the same poisoning tricks in this book as well, it seems. Because that is literally the only trick Violet has up her sleeve ever. Poison!
The only trick I know. That's what you said last episode.
It's still true. That was her only shining moment in the book too. And like, so like, not only they're not talking about anything, but also like by page 14 they're talking about like graduating, and I'm like, didn't we all like collectively leave Basgiath and the structure of college? Like, we're just like going back to class now? Like, I don't...
That's exactly what I wrote. I wrote, why would they go back dead? I said, they are just going to go back to school.
They're just going to go back to class? Like, oh, the Venom will attack any moment, but God, these math quizzes are really getting me down. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I got in trouble for being late for history this morning. What a bitch. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? And also, they broke a ton of rules at the end of Iron, just like at the end of Fourth Wing. It's like on repeat.
It is, and if anything, I feel like Onyx Storm is trying so hard to be Fourth Wing again. It's like we just Control-Alt-Deleted all the stuff from Iron Flame and like, we'll just go back to the structure of Fourth Wing where they're like doing challenges and...
What gave Fourth Wing 5 stars. I loved that book. I was so excited for the rest of the series, and I'm just so shocked at how it absolutely goes nowhere.
Downhill.
Like, it's just
completely
like
downhill.
It's just like the toilet is just going, the water is just going around the rim and it's never flushing, you know, because the toilet's clogged. That's what this book is to me. Like,
yeah, it is a mess. Do you know what I wrote down at one point? I said, this book feels like I'm reading a video game Like it's literally feels like in a video game, you know, where there's like all the gameplay to make up for the gameplay, and you just do that until you can get to an important cutscene to move the plot along.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this book felt like.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Xaden is able to keep going to Basgiath because when you first turn Venom, if you don't draw too much power, or the more that you draw from the magic in the earth, that determines what stage of Venom you are. So at this point, he's just turned into a Venom. So if he doesn't continue to pull the magic, you know, his eyes, the red in his eyes will recede to its normal color. But there's always this temptation there for him to draw from the earth. And he just fights that temptation constantly. And then there's also the serum aspect that they gave Barlow.
And they don't even explore that with Xaden at all.
No.
At all.
No.
Like, and they say that part of that was because he didn't want to have the connection to Sorrengail be cut off, but then it also said that Sorrengail wasn't speaking to him anyway, so it's like
at all. Yeah.
We didn't even get Sorrengail at all in this book. We didn't
Very
get
little.
Dane at all in this book. Like, where is everyone?
That was one of the most disappointing things for me. Dane, I cannot stress to you listeners who have not read this book how excruciating all of the dialogue is, because you have she's just adding all these characters, and there's characters upon characters upon characters, and they're constantly talking to each other, but there's no character development at the same time. So it's just so frustrating and mundane and repetitive, and you just stop caring about the characters. You just stop caring about them. The characters you do care about, you just get these little snippets of small talk conversation from them, and you don't get anything from them. It's very frustrating.
It's
beyond.
So frustrating.
Yes.
Beyond, especially with Dane, because, you know, you start the fourth wing just like hating his guts, and then he has like a really great redemption arc in Iron Flame, and you're like, okay, Dane, I'm really excited to keep moving that forward and seeing what else is there. But just he's basically a non-existent character in this book. He shows up a couple times and has like a couple speaking parts, and he's just not there.
Because all the characters in this book, all the conversations, it feels like filler. It's filler.
The whole time.
So, and she does this, Yarros does this thing with her writing where she really builds up this expectation of disaster. And then when the disaster hits, when the action hits, it's over in a second. It's over in a second, and everything that everybody was worried about surrounding that issue just goes away magically, or nobody cares about, like...
Or we just do time jumps so nobody has to talk about anything.
There was one instance where I was like, oh, okay. They were so worried. They went off on this quest to all these different isles to find the Era, just like you were saying in the synopsis. And they were so worried because they weren't doing it the way that they were instructed to by the Serenninum. They weren't like stopping and communicating with the Serenum or whatever. And they were all like, oh my God, we're going to get court-martialed. We're going to get court-martialed. They were stressed out about it the whole time. And then when they get back, they were like, oh, well, we had the king's son with us, and he's just glad that he's back. So he just pardoned all of us, and it's just over. Nobody has to worry about it. Like, it just happens so fast. But she had spent all of this time building up to this dramatic, like, what's going to happen when we get back. And then if you skim over that sentence, you'll miss it. Like, it's just it's just like the problem just floats away, and I don't understand why she writes that way. And that happens over and over again in this book, stuff like that,
over and over again. I feel like she has the bullet points of the things that she wants to happen, and then doesn't know how to completely execute it in a whole picture. Do you know? Like, it's just like bullet points.
Yeah.
But she spends so much more time on what leads up to that isn't important at all. And then just like, and the end. Done with that part. Like,
done with that. Next.
And you know, I actually saw a TikTok yesterday of an interview with Rebecca Yarros, and she made a comment on some grief that her editor had been giving her, and she made a comment how she's never written a series before. So not only has she never written fantasy before, but she's also never written a series of books before. She's always written standalones. So I feel like she doesn't know how to pace out the pacing of series.
I feel like she doesn't know how to really write a rich story. Because, and I'm sorry, I have read one of her contemporary romances. When we finished Iron Flame, I read The Things We Leave Unfinished. And that book sucked. I hated it.
Really?
It was just like this. Just like that. And it was very similar to Violet, too. Just like the bickering and the arguing and the miscommunication, like all the way through. I mean, it's just exhausting.
I hate
I almost feel like she took all of the feedback that everybody was giving her about how insufferable Violet's character was and just said, well, I just won't make her like that in this book. And so there's no transition of her character evolving to this more mature version of Violet. And it just feels like, who is this? This is like a completely different character.
Yes, I wrote that exact same thing down. I felt like all of the characters' voices just felt non-existent. Like, there were so many times I looked at the page and said, I'm like, I feel like this book is written by AI. Or at least a chunk of it. Because it is just so devoid of any emotion or depth or character. It's literally...
I'm not accusing her of anything.
You know, I'm not the first person to say this because I actually Googled it earlier and I was like, oh, okay.
All over the 1 stars, people bringing up that they think that she used AI to assist because it's just so void of feeling.
There was literally a sentence I read and I was like, a human did not write that. It didn't even make sense. All right, listen. Right when I read this, I was like, that sentence seems like you make an analogy about this into AI, and these are the words that happened because they don't even make sense. It's on page 294, and Xaden's talking about how he's aware that he's different as a Venin. He says, I'm aware in the moments I lack emotion. You and Garrick don't need to share your little oh no glances. I already feel it. It's like sliding over a frozen lake while a shrinking part of me screams that I'm supposed to be swimming. In those pieces I've bartered away, and those feelings are right beneath the surface. But fuck is skating faster and a hell of a lot less messy.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
That's what I'm saying. They're just words. It's like word salad attempting to be an analogy, and I'm like, a human didn't write that. And if a human did write that, we have different problems. Cause woof.
Okay, I have one that I was just like, what is this word salad? They're making out, right? Limiting ourselves only to the kiss makes it that much more intense. Like we're both desperate to elicit every sensation possible in the simple yet infinitely complex connection of our mouths.
Ugh.
What?
No.
It also just sounds... It's just, I don't know, just odd.
Also, way to just like really almost demean the connection between Violet and Xaden when, like, I get that, you know, the chemistry is really intense between them, and that's great. But I feel like every time they're having a scene like that where they're getting physical or want to be physical, they're treating their sexual attraction like they've both been roofied and will like die if they can't have sex with each other. Like it's so above and beyond just like...
It's just lust. Okay? That's lust. That's what that is.
Lust.
That's not love.
Lust.
Yeah.
And I said this in the last book that I didn't understand how they're in love because we never actually see them be really vulnerable with each other. It's always just like, I love you, don't you understand? And then they just go at each other, but there's just no feeling or depth to any of their interactions. And
then also for me, what I don't understand is, just like I was saying about Violet's character development and how she's like a completely different person in this book than she was
totally
the last.
Different.
And yeah. I'm sorry, one battle is not going to change all of your toxic traits inside of your relationship. It's not
and just
going
her personality.
Yeah, it's not going to change your whole personality. And she goes from just being completely obsessed with everything that Xaden's thinking, wanting to know every detail and being angry with him if he doesn't share every little thing with her, to being completely fine with going 2 weeks without having a conversation about him turning into a venom, which could make them separate forever. Like, she just doesn't even care about having any of those conversations about how he's feeling because he's turning venom. It's just like, I don't care. I just love you. And it's just completely disconnected from how Violet behaves in the first 2 books.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's like she doesn't know where to go with Violet's character to change it from those constant bickering conversations to something more mature for the relationship. So she just says, I'm just not going to do it at all. She's just mature now. And it feels like you're robbed of those interactions and the development of their relationship.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is, like, if you're going to stretch this story out for 5 books, get rid of the filler and just actually show us the thing that we're here for, which is the characters. Like, give us some plot, give us some character development instead of just like this like weird journey scavenger hunt to-do list side quest for like 500 pages. Like,
and again, I think she's following that formula that she sees in other fantasy, which is, let's do like, they've got to like do these, they have to go to all these isles. But each isle will be a different place. And at each one you have to do different trials.
It's a mess, but also like, that's not how politics work. Like, you're going from monarchy to monarchy and they're like, I'll get to that. No,
yeah, we'll get to that later. We're a little ahead.
We're already ahead. So even at the beginning, I was really confused and already like by page 11, I was like, plot hole. When all of the end of Iron Flame, like they got the wards up finally so that the venom can't survive beyond the wards, right? Like that's literally the point of having the wards. Is that the venom can't cross over because of the way that the magic is. And the wards, like, repel them, right? But then, in the very beginning... Are you okay?
Yeah, I just went to pour my wine, and Jared got jelly all over my bottle, and it just... smeared all over my hands. Okay, continue.
But then, in the first few pages, by page 11... they're like recovering from the battle inside the safely warded walls of Basgiath, and all of a sudden there's venom roaming around and like striking attacks. I'm like, whoa. They're not supposed to be able to be alive behind the wards. Like, that's the whole point. That's why Violet's mom sacrificed her fucking life to get the wards up so that the venom couldn't cross the borders. But they're just like snuck into Basgiath and starting to kill people.
Also, that was super weird because, like, nobody's around when this happens except for Violet and her crew. And they single-handedly take out all these venom. And then immediately after, they're like, well, we have a meeting to go to. What?
What? Yeah.
You're not even going to talk to anybody about what just happened? Like, she's like, well...
Right? Or how it happened?
And Xaden's like, well, we better get going. We have a meeting. And she's like, yep, let's go. I'm ready for... What? Like, it was just so weird.
Very weird. And also just like, how did that even happen? Because the wards were supposed to be up. And even Tarn says to Violet, because they were talking about whether Xaden should stay or go on this mission, and Xaden insisted on staying, and Terrence says on page 11, he remains because Navarre's wards protect you from him, meaning that if he's behind the wards, he can't channel from her. But then it's like, oh, well, I can't touch you because what if I accidentally channel you? Or
yeah, because they have that near sexual encounter, and he's like, I can't. If I'm gonna come, I'm gonna pull magic. Like, it's just very.
I just don't understand how, like, the entire point of, like, the plot of Iron Flame was to get the wards up, and that was a huge part of the ending in Iron Flame, and that was just right out the window. That rule doesn't apply anymore in this book. The Venom can just be anywhere, anytime, any place.
I also have a note about that. So Violet goes to this meeting after they kill these Venom that they don't even address that at the meeting, and it's with all the Sereninum or whoever is just like all the people
just
in
call
charge.
the Cinnamon Council.
The Cinnamon Council. All the people on the Cinnamon Council, they are like the people in charge in all the different places. I don't know. Who cares?
All the kings and queens, presidents, whatever.
Yes. And
dukes.
And now Xaden's on the Cinnamon Council. The Duke of Tyrrendal. She goes in there, and because of the wards, the Griffin Riders cannot wield magic on the inside of the wards. It's not just the Venom that can't wield past the wards. It's also the Griffin Riders. Mm-hmm. And she had made this promise to the Griffin Riders that they could come to school there with them. Because that's what we should be worried about now is school.
Right.
And she
Hogwarts
decides,
next year starting up.
And they're like, well, they can't channel, so they can't go to school here. Send them home. And Violet says, oh, well, I'm not going to break my word, so I'm going to fuck with the ward stone.
That her mom literally died putting up.
Yeah, that her mom died putting up. This is my note for that. She gets a group of her derelict friends together to go and fuck with the wardstone so the Griffin Riders can... okay. Here we go again. This is my note. Here we go again with Violet making a million bad choices on purpose to make herself the center of attention. Messing with the wards was so dangerous and reckless, stupid. Violet does this to help form an alliance with the Griffin Riders so they can train at Basgiath, but she literally could have messed the whole thing up because she has no idea what she's doing, and if the wards had fallen completely, then the entire continent would have been at risk.
And her mother's death completely in vain, and all that work that they did to erect the wards in the last book.
Mira... This is Mira on messing with the wards so that the Griffin Riders can attend Basgiath, which, by the way, is not a justifiable reason to fuck with the wards. That's not. No. I'm sorry. She says, and you're willing to risk the wards our mother gave her life to power to keep your word?
Boom.
Because, of course, the only person in this universe, the only people who ever make any fucking sense in this universe is Mira and somehow Riddick.
Right? I know,
randomly Riddick.
Randomly Riddick.
By the way, the only characters that I like, other than Dane. I like Dane.
Yeah. And you know it's bad when this book managed to even ruin Xaden. Like this, like even Xaden couldn't save this book, unfortunately. By page 21, I was writing down, oh my god, this dialogue is terrible. This is like right after a fight. This is Riddick, and Xaden had swooped in and saved the day, and he says, you know, that whole slay them in the darkness thing was badass. Riddick lifts his finger. But I totally had him. You didn't. I was about to have him, Riddick argues, shaking that finger. And Xaden's like, you weren't. And then Xaden says about Sorrengail on page 23, like, she's still not speaking to me. Flying is awkward as fuck.
It's very
Like,
Gen
it's just-
Z, like
yeah,
the
it's just
dialogue.
so
Yeah.
yeah. It feels like a really pathetic way to try to pander to everybody instead of just writing a good book.
I also feel like there was a lot of filler in the form of politics.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much politics. It just goes on and on and on.
But they don't even make sense, though.
No,
they don't
and
even make
also,
sense.
that's boring.
Boring.
Too much politics is boring. Page 65, my note. So bored, nothing is happening, caps. I wanted to scream.
Nothing is happening. Nothing.
And how stupid was that argument between the Griffin writers and the people at Basgiath? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I literally have a note about that. I wrote down, "Oh my god, seriously, after everything, they have nothing better to do but fight amongst themselves in pointless challenges and then fights for no reason. Like, we're barely into it and it's already filler. Mm-hmm. And then by page 46, Violet says, "This is not how we treat our fellow cadets." And I'm like, yes it is. Since day one, this is how everybody's treated everybody at this place. Like, there's never been camaraderie among the cadets.
Also, I think it was super random. I think it was a bad plot twist that Colonel Atos became the General of Basgiath after what he did, which everybody knew about. He was reported, and then they just they randomly, like, why would you do that? And it's not that that Violet's mom was even keeping him from that post or keeping him out of Basgiath. Like, he conducted himself in a treasonous fashion and was relocated as a punishment. Everybody in the cinnamon, everybody in the cinnamon group knows what he did. Like, it makes no sense that they would just send him back to Basgiath. It's just like, it was almost like she wrote it that way for shock value, like, not him. But they wouldn't, anybody with a brain wouldn't have done that.
Right. Well, and even Violet's mom sending him to just a different assignment. It's like, no, you lose your rank over something like that. Like, why is he even still here? Why is he not in jail?
Yeah.
And then while it's so... there were moments that at least I could, like, laugh at it and enjoy the train wreck that was on the page. Like, on page 24, I wrote down, "This is giving as if you could outrun me." Because Xaden's trying to explain to Violet
as if you could fight me off.
"See, you're still you." My gaze drops to his mouth. "Telling me you're capable of horrible things while still loving me is pretty much your idea of foreplay." His eyes darken and he hauls me closer. Only his own obstinance separates our lips. "That should scare the shit out of you, Violet." "It doesn't." I rise on my toes and brush my lips over his. "Nothing about you scares me. I won't run, Xaden." "These are the eyes of a killer, Bella. I mean, Violet's."
I wrote about that conversation. I wrote so many questions about what happens to you when you turn into a Venin. What happens to your soul? And Violet's only question now is, do you still love me? That's her only question.
Yeah.
What? And not only, like, Xaden's presence can endanger everyone in Basgiath as well.
Yes.
And he's also on the cinnamon trials. So that means that he's privy to all of that information that he could eventually share to...
But nobody knows that he is a Venin except for...
But Violet knows. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very
Garrick
irresponsible.
Garrick and Bodhi also know.
But it's irresponsible for them to do this.
Yeah. Oh, and also he's just a professor now, randomly. Like,
yeah, he's the hot professor now. Professor Xaden. Professor Ryerson.
Professor Ryerson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Professor Riorson.
Riorson, yep, that's my B. Speaking of that one thing I wrote down about Violet's reaction too is that I was really annoyed that Violet is being so annoying about Xaden not being able to touch her and losing control. Like, she hasn't even asked him how he's doing, how he's coping, what they can do to get through it together. She just totally invalidates his very real concerns about this very huge and very real problem. And she's just like, it's fine though, I'm not scared. And he's like, you should be. This is really bad. And it's a slap to the face to him.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And then proving him right by page 36, he says, I took it without thinking, without choice, and if it had been you, I would never have been able to forgive myself. And then her response to that is, are you going to go all broody and try to pull away from me?
I found her very cocky and arrogant.
Yes.
When she's speaking in that initial meeting they have, page 73. I was like, oh my God, she's insufferable. In a completely different way than the last book. Just a completely different way. One of my dragons is among the most powerful on the continent, and the other is the rarest. I didn't realize it last year or even a few months ago, but I do now. You can't afford to kill me. She might as well, this was my note, she might as well have just tacked on na boo boo at the end of that sentence. Like, it's just so...
I have that quote in my notes as well.
Ugh.
And then she's like, do your worst, but we both know I'm beyond your reach, General.
and everybody's like, hey, Xaden's not himself. Like, something's going on. And Violet's like, yeah, so...
But also, can we talk about how, like, right after she, like, gets in his face, the fucking general, then that general of their war college proceeds to threaten his own innocent cadets? Because, why? Again, why does Atos have a hate on for Violet for no reason? Like, they're all on the same team. She and Xaden are their most powerful allies. They're on the same team. I don't get why we're trying to create villains within the ranks. And the same with, what's his name from last book? What was his name? The guy.
Oh my God.
Who tortures her for...
It starts with a V.
What was this? Varys? Varish. It's like, we need Varish 2.0. Let's get Colonel Atos in here. Like, everything in this book is trying to be Fourth Wing 2.0, because she's also like, this formula worked for the first book. I'll just keep doing that for these ones. And you have to evolve. So it's just wild that the first one starts so good. And I'm like, okay, I had some issues, but, you know, benefit of the doubt, the writing will get better as it goes. And it's gotten worse, way worse. Like you said, the toilet bowl.
Even when Xaden and Violet have a second alone and are having a conversation, it's like Rebecca decided, I don't know where this conversation's going, so I'm going to have like 10 people cockblock them and just like come into the room.
Yes! She does that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all just like outside the door.
Someone is always walking into the room right in the middle of the conversation. And they're like, oh, well, let's talk about this later. And then one of them, like, leaves. And I'm like, fuck. Like, can they just, like...
Yeah, every time.
Have one conversation. They're sleeping in the same bed. And every conversation we get is in the middle of the afternoon when someone's looking for them.
Yeah.
Every conversation.
Yeah. Every single one. And then it's just a few sentences.
It's just me and you and you and your friend Steve. That was this whole fucking... Somebody's always popping up like, hi, I'm here to cockblock. That's my role in this scene. Like,
everybody's like knocking on their door like, have you heard of our Lord and Savior?
Like, hi, we hear very, very clearly that you're having sex, but we all need to talk to you right now, all 10 of us.
All 10 of us, yeah. Like, also, we're just going to stand out here and listen and wait for you to be done instead of just knocking.
Or just like being like, oh, they're busy. Let's go do something else for a minute. Like,
stupid.
And I think she also tries to mask some of that weird, awkward cock blocking with concern. Like, Garrick's worried about Violet because of Xaden.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but what about all the other 5 people that are knocking on that? Like, do you guys not have anything else better to do than just follow Violet around everywhere she fucking goes?
Yeah.
She's like Regina George or something. Like, everybody has to be with her all the time.
Yeah. 100%.
Why, as Xaden or Violet, why the fuck wouldn't you say that? Why the fuck wouldn't you be like, hey, we're having a conversation. We'll be with you in a few minutes. Fuck off. Like, every time somebody comes around, you're going to be like, well, this is over for the moment. See you later.
We're just
like,
going to hit pause on that. We're having a conversation.
Like, I need a little bit of respite with my man. Go away. And they just never say anything. It's just not very realistic to me.
No. And also, can we talk about the shoehorned in previous love interest, Holden? Like, where the fuck? And it reminded me of something that you said last book when you were saying that the little headers at the top give away what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I noticed that a few times in this one. And there was one where there was Lilith's message to Violet's dad about her taste in men, and I wrote down, cue someone, since the only men we've seen her with have been post-daddy death, so really already bearing the lead with those headers. So I knew that someone was going to show up, and that whole thing, like, she's never mentioned or even thought of Holden before. It wasn't a thing. It's just like, oh, well, now there's no love triangle between Dane and Xaden, so now we just need to throw in someone else to just stir up pointless drama. Like, there's not enough thing. Oh, and then they're like, Xaden's a professor now, and 3.2 whatever of the codex states that a professor shall not date a cadet. And then Violet's like, oh my god, I think our relationship just ended. We're gonna have to be on the DL on top of everything else to spend time together. It's just like, oh my god, stop.
Page 121. That is when Violet tells Xaden they have to break up because she finds out that he's a professor now. Which we also find out immediately that the whole reason that General Atos is even backing him is to fuck with her. This is my note. So, wait a minute. She said just a few chapters back, if this is the capacity that I have you, then I'll take this and be fine. With him being a Venin, but he's a hot professor now, and it's automatic severing of a relationship, and she doesn't even seem upset about it, just very matter of fact.
It makes no sense.
Like, you're totally fine with him being a Venin, but he's a professor, and now it's like, well, the Codex, Section 8, Article 2, some fucking shit. And you're like, oh, well, this is it. Nice knowing you. And she really does not seem like she is even upset about it. The way that it's written.
Yeah, because she's like, well, I guess our relationship just ended, and Xaden's like, fuck that. We'll just have to be careful, that's all. And she's like, I mean, I guess, if you think we can. But then, like, he's like a freaking zombie vet, and she's like, I love you. I will never run, Xaden. He's a professor now. Like, oh, well, I guess, okay, that's fair.
Well, this is against the rules, though. So, what?
Rules? Oh, no.
Yeah, but him being Venin is an automatic death sentence. On the spot. That's how bad of a rule break it is.
Right. And then also the fact that she does not seem to understand the gravity of him being Venin, while also just the gravity of that situation is the only thing she won't shut up about. Like, page 26, Garrick is trying to, like, convince her that Xaden is dangerous, and he says, I thought you'd at least be logical, Violet. Me? You're the ones acting based on feelings and with no evidence whatsoever. My decision to trust him is purely based on the facts of our proven history. Yeah, before he was a Venin. who's not in control of his actions, and all since when has Violet been logical either? Like,
I'm just going to read some random notes because they're not going to go anywhere. Dane is playing the long game. Or is he? Who knows, since his character development is non-existent in this book.
Word.
Want to hear more from Andarna and Tarn? That's not there.
I know. Basically gone.
What do they look like when they are having a private conversation before answering a question out loud? A blank stare as they're talking, like, in their heads? Because they're always like, there's all these moments where people are asking them questions and then they have a conversation in their heads, Xaden and Violet, telepathically, yeah. And then one of them answers and I'm like, what the fuck why is there, I bet the other person's like, hello, are you feeling all right?
Well, they acknowledge that, like, they're doing that thing where they, like, are talking to themselves. It's like that How I Met Your Mother when Marshall and Lily have telepathic conversations with each other. And everybody else is like...
A visual of that to me is hilarious. That blank stare, like, we're talking to each other in our head.
Or, like, just facial expressions, like, a note I had, because the Venom go there to try to break Jack out of the cell, because they have Jack detained.
Why did they care about Jack so much, by the way?
Why did they care? Well, because they were, like, gonna try to torture him for Venom information, and then they just, like, kept him on tap. But page 43, I wrote down, that Venom by Jack's cell had silver hair, I muttered. That's weird, right? That sentence reads like Dora the Explorer pointing out an obvious clue to the audience before moving on.
Hola, soy Dora.
Did you see a silver hair? Do you see anyone else who has silver hair in our story? Okay. But do you know what was not present with Dora? The map. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map. I wrote down.
Oh,
is it
I thought you were gonna go. I'm the map.
I'm the map. Map. I wrote down. I was like, for considering the fact that the majority of this book takes place, going to all of the different isles, you'd really think that there would be a map for the isles. Also, like, they're not in the map at all. So you have no context of where they're at.
All these 10 libraries that she has access to now, because now she has access to all these different libraries, Violet, that there'd be a fucking map in one of them.
Yeah, right? Also, to say something to what you had said earlier about them fucking with the wards, I also wrote down, is it just me, or was the whole altering the ward scene super vague about how they actually achieved what they wanted to achieve in regards to the Flyers maintaining their magic? Like, it was just like this weird magical gymnastic thing. Yeah, and then cut the blue wire. We're all fine. It's
Even
fine.
though you spent the entire last book trying to figure out how to power the wards, you're gonna fuck with them.
Like, literally, that's, like, the second half of Iron Flame is her, like, trying to decode all those books, and then her mom literally sacrificing her life force to power the wards. I wrote down, this is Edward Cullen all over again. Oh, I can't touch you because I can't lose control. Black, I hate it. What is the point of slogging through this book if we don't get any sex scenes with Xaden?
Right? That's the best part. Like, right? I wrote, Xaden knows he's bad for Violet, but chooses to stay and try with her, regardless of knowing he is bad for her and that this isn't going to work. Like, why wouldn't he just leave? Yeah. He should leave. Like, if he really loved her...
Well, and he even said, he's like, I should, but I'm too selfish to give you up. And it's like, yeah, because that's not love.
Yeah.
That is not what love
looks like. It actually
like.
Feels more like... Because in the last book, I felt like it was love. But in this book, it feels like possession.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Xaden's, like, feelings to her have turned towards, like, even that weird interaction that he has with the Prince, Halden, when he's teaching class. And he's like, hey, Violet, one time we had sex. You want to try that again? He, like, attacks him with the shadows. And he's like, suck yeah, Prince guy.
How dare you? I have a note for that. I said, uh-oh, I do not like where this is going. Please, for the love of God, don't ruin Xaden. On page 157. Did you love him? Xaden lifts his head and pins me with a look that borders on feral. I have to know. I can handle it, but I have to know. It's like...
Also, I feel like she didn't love him because she would have brought it up before now, if she did.
Right. But also,
it was just infatuation.
The author, he didn't exist before this book because the author just made him up and their history just before now. Because I bet if we went back and read Fourth Wing, like, that is where you would see Halden show up. But, like, no, she spent her entire childhood with Dane. And also romanticizing about Dane, not being in love with Halden and having a relationship with Halden, like, is completely shoehorned in and doesn't match the canon of the first book.
Yeah, and she's all like, what do you want me to say? Like, what do you mean? You didn't love him. You've never even brought him up before now.
Like, stupid.
It was like a fling, right?
Yeah.
It was just like a fling.
Right, like, and she's like, well, of course, like, I was, like, 18, and, like, I obviously had feelings for him, but they died pretty quickly when I saw him fucking that other person. Like, stupid.
Page 117. Here we go. This is just explained away in one sentence, this thing that frustrated us for 2 books. It's another one of these examples. The teacher of the class says this. Death is no longer an acceptable outcome when you face your classmates. The days of settling your scores on the mat are over. We need each and every one of you to survive to graduation. Oh, how generous-minded you are. Like, now...
Right?
Now...
Yes.
Now it's like... It's not dangerous enough that, like, all of the trials that they have to do with the dragons, the war games, learning to ride, crossing the parapet, all of those things they have to do to prove themselves to the Imperium, to the dragons, that's not dangerous enough. It was totally acceptable for them to kill each other on a sparring mat while they just practice fighting. And now it's not acceptable. Now we need you.
Now we need you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to put a kibosh on the whole, like, you know... fellow cadet murder.
Yeah, for the time being.
Like, we have to get serious now. When they hear about the venom attack in the villages, I wrote down, eye roll, tell me it's a trap without telling me. Page 79. The area is under attack. It's odd for venom to target such a small village. Thanks, Dora. Why would the venom target a small village?
Why is it odd? Their whole point is...
Right.
Their whole point is just to take everybody out, so why wouldn't they target a small village?
But then they target that specific village because Marin's family live there, and then Violet, of course, being Violet, like, well, obviously it's up to me to go save this random girl who I just met's family from this tiny, tiny village. And guess what? It was a trap. That's why they attacked a small little village. And then that all happens, and then they just let them go.
Oh, yeah.
They set a trap to lure Violet outside of the wards and then let her go. This meeting could have been an email. And then on page 84, I was laughing so hard when they're like having an air battle with Wyvern, and all of a sudden there's a tornado. And they're like, tornado. I was like, sure. Why not?
Just throw a tornado in there.
Throw in a tornado. Or a Wyvernado.
Oh, yeah, because we find out that just randomly, out of nowhere, even though they had all of these battles with the Sage and the Maven, high-level Venom in the last book, there was so much more battling with the high-level Venom. But we find out in this book that all of a sudden, randomly, they can also wield signets.
Right?
Why weren't they able to do that before? But now they can? Just randomly. I mean, he kills the leader of the Venom, the general.
He didn't.
No, but I mean, like, Xaden has that big battle, and he doesn't wield a signet against Xaden.
Right?
It just randomly comes up in this book that they can do that. And they even say it in Battle Brief. They can and do wield signets.
I wrote down I don't get why everyone thinks Violet is going to get a second signet. Like, she already had another signet and she burned it out in the first book. Like, is everyone just like forgetting that even happened with the time stopping thing with Andarna?
But yeah, but
like,
that was her Feathertail signet. So that what they said in the last book was that like when they're the Feathertails, they have a signet, but if they burn out, it accelerates the growth, remember? And she had to go for the sleep or whatever. And then when she becomes an adult dragon, there's another signet that comes with that. But people don't normally know that because they don't bond with Feathertails. At least that's how it was written in the last book. So, but I have a note for that. Hold on. And this is a quote. I don't know who says it. It was written that the writer that bonds with the Irid will be gifted 2 signets. And this is from a full-grown Irid dragon. And one of them is dream walking. Lame. That was my note.
Oh, I remember being like, I told you it was Xaden's dreams the whole time, and it wasn't.
It wasn't Xaden's, but Violet was in Xaden's dreams too.
Yeah, but it was the whole time. Walker. It was Xaden's dream.
Yeah, it was, but
like
Violet
an iron
was,
flame.
But Violet was still having those dreams too with Xaden. They were having them at the same time. And they also
Super
say
lame.
that is a form of intrinsic. How? So that's also like a death sentence if anybody finds out that she's a dream walker.
I can pop in and see people's dreams that they have zero control over. Like, how is that even useful?
Yeah. And there's no way for you to know if that dream is something that's actually happened to them, or it's not like a mind reading thing.
Right. It's just so messy.
So she has the lightning and the dream walking. And Andarna was just randomly like, she was like, oh, it must be a dream walker. Wow. And Xaden's like, yeah, it's a form of intrinsic. And Andarna's like, I'm glad you finally figured it out. And she was like, why wouldn't you tell me? And she was like, well, because it's your job to kind of figure it out. But surprise! It's just so fucking weird. I was like, really? She will have another signet on top of the dream walking because of that foreshadowing that I just read. That's the... So at this point, she's burned through the time-stopping signet. That's gone forever because she's not a Feathertail anymore. It's just like, it's almost like she just wants... And all of a sudden, everybody else has 2 signets. I thought it was super fucking rare.
Right? And now, like, Riddick, you get a second signet, and you get a second signet, and you get a second signet. Literally, oh my god, bad. I have a note about that.
Oh, and Garrick's a teleport. He's a teleporter, and he doesn't ever fucking use that to their advantage. Ever.
Right? Never.
They never use his... That is, like, the most convenient signet. You could literally get everybody out that you need to get out in a bad situation, and they never fucking use it, and he's always with Xaden.
This is the one part of the book that I will say, like, that I got pure enjoyment out of, only because it is so ridiculous that every single time I saw it on the page, I literally could not stop laughing.
I can't wait. What is that?
It's just so stupid. The venom that becomes Violet's nemesis in the book.
Oh, I know what it is. It's her name.
What in the Mormon Utah spelling? Page 89. You're welcome for not killing you. I'm Theophany, by the way.
Wait, I thought it was Theophanine. I was like, Theophanine? That's a mouthful. How about just Theo?
Like, it's literally spelled... Like, I've had somebody at Starbucks spell my name this way. Like, it's spelled Theophanie. Theophany.
Theophany.
What's like least intimidating? Like, you're welcome for not killing you. I'm Theophany, by the way.
I also wrote down how hilarious that name was.
Like, I'm dying. I was like, I am dying, Dad. Like, it's... And then like throughout the book, she says the name like so ominous, like, "Oh, it's Theophanie." Oh, and then the biggest, baddest sage guy was named Berwin. Like, these are like the least intimidating set of villains could possibly have. Oh no, it's Berwin and Theophanie. Run!
Oh my god. I have a couple of notes about Professor Riorson. Enjoyed the Professor Xaden scene on the mat, but it's just a rehash of past sparring in the books with a small twist. Filler. And they just keep going back to the mat.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep going back to practice. And it's like, this is just something that you need to mention they're doing. We don't need to watch them do this over and over and over again. It's ridiculous. Yeah. My other note about Professor was in mentioning that she's okay with Xaden being a Venom, but he turns Professor, and she's like, "Oh crap, our relationship just ended." Again, I love Dane. We don't get nearly enough of him in this. We don't get any of him in this book, hardly.
Any of him.
And Dane says, "Oh shit, Article 8, Section 1 of the Code of Conduct." And then Xaden's like, "What? What about it? What about it? What about it?" And however, Dane be coming in clutch and goes, "Don't blame me. I didn't write the code." Dane backs into the hall with his hands up. "Nor did I accept the job."
Oh, mic drop.
I was like, "Oh, Dane. I love Dane." He was like, "You fucking... listen here, Duke. You took the job. You know the stakes."
Just the ridiculousness of him being a graduate and a writer and a duke and a professor and a dark wielder and a shadow daddy. Like, come on, stop. Stop it.
It's so much. So much going on. And a Venom. And a Venom.
Well, I said dark wielder, so.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just enough. And also, like, in what world? Like, you're now the Duke of Tyrandor. He's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stay on my post as writer, and then I'm also gonna be a professor. So, like, that is not how things work.
How about they go to that village, and they have that, like, battle.
With Theophany.
With Theophany. The first one. With the tornado, right? And they're fighting in the sky over the village, right? They're literally mid-battle. And immediately, there's like a page divider, and they are back at Basgiath.
Yes.
And the action is just gone, and they're just back to class.
I remember exactly the part you're talking about. I remember thinking, like, that it reminded me of Michael Scott when he's like, sometimes I just start a sentence not really knowing where I'm going and just see what happens. Yeah. But except she didn't finish the sentence. She just, like, left it in the middle of a fight scene.
It's like Rebecca was like, "Oh, end scene." And end the scene.
Like the end of an episode? Yeah.
There's no transition. It was just like... They're fighting, they're in the middle of warfare, and then they're back at class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'll reference it later, and then it's like when a show that you like ends on one of those type of cliffhangers, and you're like, ugh! And then the next episode starts out like, previously on Onyx Storm, and then they're just like back at class without finishing that scene. It was like Misery when she's going on that rant, like, he didn't get out of the cockadoodie car! Like, they didn't finish that cockadoodie fight! They were still doing it!
Yeah, they were in the middle of battle. And it was just like, the next day, in history class, like, what?
24
Where
hours
am I?
later.
Yeah. It was just so bizarre to me.
When Theophany, when they have their little altercation there, she basically says, like, come with me, think of what we could do together. And and she's like, I can teach you. And I said, oh man, alternative to Basgiath College, Venning College. She really can't let go of the college thing, can she?
Oh no, she can't. She can't.
She can't.
It's almost like she doesn't know what they're gonna do if they don't have this like home base
backdrop. Yeah.
If they don't have a home base, it's like, okay, where's this going? Well, I'll just take it back to Basgiath.
Well, and that's the thing, because like at the end of Fourth Wing, like, what a powerful ending! Like, welcome to the revolution, babe. Like, here we go. And then you're like, whoa, this world is about to expand and get into all crazy, and then it just doesn't. And then, if anything, it retracts inward.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like you said, just goes back to home base. Just goes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I did start to like it more. I was being like, okay, maybe we're getting over the hump here. Around the 200-page mark, when they are officially getting away from Basgiath, they've got Captain Grady, and they're getting away from Basgiath. The magic is gone. They can't communicate with each other, and they're going to that first place. That's when I was like,
their
okay,
first quest.
Something's happening here. Like, and I was like, finally, we're getting away from the college. We're doing something different. And that's when I started to kind of open up a little bit more.
Same.
But again, it goes nowhere. It just is a circle.
Yep.
When they severed the communication bond and she couldn't talk to Tarn, she couldn't talk to Xaden, I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to force them to have conversations.
Well, she always was able to maintain with Tarn and Andarna for whatever reason.
But nobody else.
Nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even the other people with the other riders with their dragons couldn't communicate with their dragons. Not just them. But, which also they never really explained why Violet was the only person. Is it because Andarna was an Irid, or was it because of her silver hair? Like, we don't know.
Page 197. I still don't know who this is. I have completely forgotten who Drake is. Too many characters, don't care.
Yep.
That was my note.
At one point I wrote down, number 1, who is Traeger and why is he around? Also could care less that she's trying to make him and Kat a thing.
Don't care about that. Yeah, I didn't care about that at all.
I know why Traeger exists. Because he has to be a named character that we don't care about to die. Which he does later. Which, I'll get to that. I have thoughts. When Andarna figures out that she's an Irid on page 91, I said, okay, Gandalf. Andarna goes, Irid. Andarna whispers, yes, I remember now. That is what my kind are called. I am an Irid scorpion tail. It's just like, like, oh yes, that is what they used to call me. Gandalf the Grey.
I had a Lord of the Rings moment in my quotes.
Had a couple.
For later.
Yeah, I have one too. I bet it's the same one. I bet it is.
I can't wait to see if it is.
I bet it's the same one. I feel like the last 2 books are just coming up with more asinine ways to keep Xaden and Violet apart for no reason to create drama.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she offered Jack Barlow an orange peel, dead. What in the AI fanfic is this?
Isn't he allergic?
Exactly. I'll kill you again, Jack Barlow. I also wrote something like, just like the last book, all the exciting things are happening off page. Like, she's actually practicing for once an hour a day with Taryn, but do we get to see it? No, of course not. Like, we don't get to see anything that we want to see happen. It's just like, oh, and I practice with Taryn and blah, 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 blah.
Page 257. My note is, why can't or couldn't we hear these conversations? This is so frustrating. I want to scream. Here's the line from the book. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Page 257. And this kind of like details and the opportunities that you have to expand on your world building are so important to connect the reader to the world. Yes. And to connect the reader to the lore of your world. With nothing to do for the next 8 hours, but hold on, I listen as Tairn recites the law of his breed from the first of his line up to Thoreau, the first black dragon to ever successfully bond back during the Great War. We just get that line, and we don't get to know any of that lore coming from Tairn to Violet in the span of their travel. Like, we don't get to see that conversation or hear those stories from Tairn.
I literally have that exact same thing written down. I don't have to say it now because, like, literally have that exact same
bullshit. I was like, that is bullshit.
It's bullshit. Also, one thing that annoyed me and also just found like super confusing too, like with all the world building that you've had and then kind of Control Alt deleted, now you're trying to expand some of the world building. On page 138, they say like, we visited a few temples after lunch, but the flyers have been gone worshiping for hours. I said, what book am I in? Now, all of a sudden, there's this huge emphasis on the gods and which one you specifically worship, like when they're nothing but anecdotes in the previous books.
She doesn't go into detail about the gods, though.
No, but now there's so much emphasis on like, oh, well, I only pray to Sinal because of this reason, and oh, don't you fuck with Dune, otherwise she's not happy about that. Like, they'll be like, it just why?
Yeah, why is she not happy with it?
Oh, how about at one point during their travels, they go to an actual pub. Violet is drinking lavender lemonade. Fucking lame. What a...
So they go to that first city, the first isle. They're looking for her father's texts. Because her father had written these texts and he left her a clue. First love is irreplaceable, which I thought the answer to that was going to be Dane. But it ended up being the answer to the riddle was the name of her father's dragon.
Her mom's dragon. Because her dad wasn't a writer.
Oh, yeah. And anyway, if you get the answer to the riddle wrong, then ink will destroy the inside of the book. And they're all like
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, so they're all like things that Violet can figure out that are probably related to family or scribe kind of information. And it's just everything's coded. So they go to this bookstore on this aisle, right? Mm-hmm. And they have a brawl in the bookstore when they find out that she's there for the text, not even knowing who she is yet. Because this particular aisle, this particular place, they don't trust dragon riders. They don't trust people that have dragons. They've got all of these like weaponry that will shoot a dragon out of the sky. That was also something that went nowhere that I was like, ooh, this could get kind of like interesting and heated. Like they've got weapons to fight dragons. Like the high stakes here goes nowhere, goes absolutely nowhere. Yep. But they're in the bookshop, and I cannot tell you how much I laughed when the old lady came out and was like, "Answer me these riddles 3."
Oh, I have that written down as well.
And then also the questions that she asks Violet are so weird. Like, they were all, like, emotional questions that she wouldn't actually know the answer to.
Yeah.
It was just very odd to me. She wiggles her finger at Xaden. This is the old lady. I heard you saying that you'd kill my grandson if he took another step toward your beloved young man. How logically, toxically romantic of you. I have to admit that kind of confident violence isn't what I'd pictured when Asher talked about you, but the brown hair, those, I guess they're brown eyes, and how utterly smitten he predicted you two would eventually be for each other, that he described you almost perfectly, Dane Atos.
I have that one right down, and then Mira's like, "Oh my god, I can't. I'm gonna need to
like
stand
Mira
over here
just
for a
busts
second."
out laughing. She's like, that's not fucking Dane. Oh god. It was just that was such a weird scene.
Answer these questions 3.
Answer
and
me
I was like,
these riddles 3. Should you? I'm like, okay, she's fucking Asher's daughter.
give her the fucking books.
Like, why does she have to answer 3 questions in front of all of her friends that are centered around her emotions? Like,
because like her
super
dad
weird.
was like, well, Violet's gonna have to prove that she's gotten smart enough to get them. She's talking about her and Xaden are just like having a conversation, and on page 132, and he says, I know, I've used it to my advantage a few times. When in Iron Flame, he said he's never used his signet on Violet. J'accuse!
I have a quote from Xaden that just like made me laugh out loud. It's just so cheesy. And this is about, like we were talking about before, he's super possessive of Violet in this book. And you almost wonder if that's part of like the Venom thing or if it's just lack of character development. But he says to Violet, yes, love, I'm jealous. He places his hand over the small of my back and tugs me toward him. I'm jealous of the armor that holds you when I can't. The sheets on your bed that caress your skin every night, and the blades that feel your hands. So when the prince of our realm walks into my classroom and starts talking to the woman I love, what can only be considered intense familiarity? And then he has the audacity to ask her out right in front of me. Naturally, I'm going to get jealous. He brings our bodies flesh.
Like,
oh,
also,
Duke.
how would Halden... Oh, Duke. But also,
It's
how
like
would Halden know
like
that...
her in-
Like, it's not like he did it on purpose. Like, I'm sure Halden didn't know that, like, oh, I didn't know the professor was your boyfriend.
And also,
like, why would he know that? We've met him the first time just now.
The whole time I was just like in my head, Nicole Kidman and Moulin Rouge. Duke! Oh, Duke!
Oh, Duke!
You're
the Duke. The Duke.
Of Tyrandol.
The Maharaja.
Oh my god.
One thing that Violet says about Dane that just made me real upset, page 140, she says, I'd rather he be a dick again, even obnoxious in his certainty over this hollow version of himself. Ew.
Ugh.
Like, why? Why would you, like, obviously there's a reason he has that look on his face, because this is a fucking dire situation, but you would rather him just, like, be a dick than to just, like, be like, wow, he's in his feels about this really intense situation that we're all in.
Yeah.
Like, so gross. Like, can everybody just, like, be happy? Like, I wield lightning, it's no big deal. We'll figure it out.
So, let's move on to the... Let's just go ahead and move on to the going to the different isles. So they're going to look for the Irids. They're looking for Andarna's kind. They need the Irids to help them power the ward stones to make them more powerful to destroy the Venom. And then also, as they're traveling from isle to isle, they're looking for support to help them in the war against the Venom. They're looking for troops. So they want to talk to all the people in leadership at all these different isles. And then they're also investigating where the Irids are, where they've been all this time, and trying to help Andarna find her family. And they're hoping that Andarna will be able to help with that conversation to getting them to help them So the first place they go. This is just okay. So I just want to preface this by saying that at each aisle that they go to, there are trials that they have to overcome to even talk to the nobility, which is
Even
bizarre in
Xaden
itself.
is a duke. Like, this is not how politics work.
So when they get to each aisle, they have to overcome a trial to even talk to the nobility, to find out. And that was also very confusing. Like on some of the aisles, they don't even talk about getting support for the upcoming war, and they just talk about, oh, can we have a place to sleep for the night if we need to land? What a weird thing to have to do to ask. Hey, can we chill here for a night?
Right, but also, like, again, this meeting could have been an email. They didn't send ahead scrolls to the monarchs, the leaders of the lands, to just, like, get a gauge. Or like, oh, can I request an audience with you? Like, no, they're just gonna show up on the island and answer these questions 3, but over and over and over again.
That at this point they are breaking the rules because they're supposed to be communicating with Basgiath in between aisles, and they decide we just don't have time for that shit. So they just don't do it. They're worried about getting court-martialed when they get home. They just island hop, basically.
Mm-hmm. Half of the book is them island hopping.
Yeah. The first time that they go out, I fucking died laughing when Captain Grady was just burnt to a crisp. Randomly coming out of an abandoned house. One of the people that comes with them, I can't even remember her name because she was just an arbitrary character. She basically explodes the captain of their war party, of their, like, party. And he's like, rah, rah! He's like on fire.
Set him on fire because she thought, and they were specifically like, you can't use any magic because that will attract the venom. And she was like, I can't take it any longer. And she like, but it's their own captain. And she lights him on fire, and
he dies immediately after screaming.
And that sets the entire mountain ablaze. It's like the LA fires over there. Like, it just like whoosh.
Yeah, and they barely make it out alive. Town, and of all these like dried up buildings, because the Venom have taken all the magic out of the area, and the buildings are like basically they're like kindling, so it's just like it just spreads like
it's all brittle. And
that first aisle they go to, they have Halden with them. They go to the aisle. And they run into all of these people on this aisle that have the same hair as Violet, that tapers down into like a silver point, like Violet's hair. And
well, they've gone full silver.
Yeah. Well, the older they are, but the younger children have hair like Violet's. So there's a lot of questions that it's obvious that Violet has come from one of these people. And that there are some questions here. And she doesn't even ask those questions.
And she was like, huh. Again, one of those dormos.
How weird.
Like, they're silver hair like me. Did you see another character with silver hair?
Yeah, but she doesn't investigate that or even have a conversation with anyone about that. She literally says to Xaden, oh my gosh, do you see their hair? And he's like, yeah. And that's the extent of it.
Yeah, and then one of the priestesses randomly says something to her like, "Oh, your path isn't clear, and like you're lucky that you were we didn't complete your dedication or whatever." So there's clearly backstory, and we find out later that her dad did in fact try to have her dedicated to one of the gods. Was it Dune? Was that the right god? I don't even
I don't know, but they don't even go into detail about why.
She doesn't go into
how. Or even how she knew that.
Or what the dedication means. Like, what does it mean to be dedicated and to go full priestess? Like, what does that entail?
The ball is dropped so hard on that I was like, really? Like, we've all been
Yeah.
wondering all this time about there
been
being
3 books.
something.
We still don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's something significant about Violet's hair. Like, no matter if she cuts it, the silver goes to the tips. Like, there's just something about her hair that is unique and might contain magical properties of some kind. And it's just dropped. The ball's just completely dropped, and you're like, thanks for nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so Violet and Xaden go up to talk to the nobility, and they can only go because Xaden is a duke. And he's like, I'm bringing Violet with me. Like, anybody that is not in some kind of hierarchy is not permitted to see this guy. They go to see him, and Halden has tried to steal from this guy and is, like, now in captivity. And they have to try and talk this king or whatever, his name's Cortland, out of keeping Halden, and then also try to talk to him about the Irids and getting support for the war. And it's just so maniacally weird. Like, he comes out and he's like, how do you like my panthers? They're white panthers. Do you see them? It's very...
What in the Bond villain is this?
This is my note for this. Cortland is so over the top and cringy. Enough! Kill them! No, my panthers that are white! Damn you, firebringers! Like, also... why would you want to piss off all of these dragons when you're in a ceilingless throne room?
Right? Like, panthers are no match for a dragon.
They're literally in a throne room with no ceiling. All they have to do is come over there and be like, blow fire in there, and it's over.
It's like she was trying to have a Game of Thrones moment. He's like, oh, look, here's a head of someone you like or knew. Feed it to my panthers. And they're like, we have dragons? We have dragons.
The panther thing was hilarious to me.
It's so funny. They
have this battle, and Violet gets knocked around a little bit, and Xaden pulls from the ground and kills everybody in the throne room with his venom magic. And then his eyes are red, and he has to go somewhere for a couple weeks till it gets better, and then come back to Basgiath so they can resume classes.
He just has to detox. He detoxed the venom.
That whole scene was just so hilarious to me with the panthers, and I was just dying. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It was ridiculous. I actually remember this part specifically because I was doing a project while I was listening to this particular moment, and I remember I was like in the middle of a project, and then I heard panthers, and I did a double take, and I was like, what did she just say? And I literally backed it up like 10 seconds, like, she did not just say panthers.
White
like, I
panthers.
cannot have heard that right, but no. And to what you were saying earlier, there's so many characters that show up and leave on the page. Names are dropped constantly, and like, I'm pretty good at remembering everybody's name, even when there's a lot of things going on. But this was ridiculous, just name dropping left and right. I wrote down at one point, when Mulvik shows up and Violet is freaking out, my first thought was, am I supposed to know who that is? And then it takes a paragraph later for me to even know what's going on, and that it's Arik who's wanting to go with them. But also, like, why is she so opposed to it? I don't really understand how Arik being outed as a writer because his royal family thinks that he's been dead this whole time or missing, how that makes any sort of difference in any way to anyone. Like, he's a writer now. Like, no one can do anything about it. Like, who cares if Halden knows?
Yeah.
And Arik is, like, the only, again, one of the very few likable characters in the scene. He's like, whatever. Like, this is DEFCON 5. He's like, I don't care if I'm more inexperienced. Like, I have a responsibility, and, like, this is war. Like, I can't afford to just sit on the sidelines. Like, I gotta do stuff. And my brother's a fucking dick bag.
Then they go to the aisle with Xaden's mother on it. That was also a huge disappointment and just ridiculous.
Huge disappointment.
Just ridiculous. Like, it was like a circus, those chapters.
It was so stupid.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like, this is like deep. We're gonna get like a deep tissue massage with Xaden and find out all this stuff. And there's this like really awkward moment because his mother abandoned him when he was so young. That you get a little of that, but then the dinner scene.
Oh my God.
Ridiculous scene. Just ridiculous. With the poisoning and the they poison.
And then she's
Who
like,
did
"Oh
they
yeah,
even
you
poison." I don't even know who they poisoned. I forget.
They were trying to poison all of them. Like the Xaden's mom's family was trying to poison all of them, but only Garrick had taken a bite of the cake, and she was like, "Oh, I chocolate cake used to be your favorite." So they laced the cake with poison, trying to poison everyone. But Violet starts kind of cluing into the fact that they're the only ones with cake, and she's like, "Don't eat that. It's poisoned." And then Garrick's like, "Oh, I'm the only one who ate it." And so she's like, "Okay, now we have to figure out the antidote. Give me the antidote." And then when they won't, she's like, "Oh yeah, well,
she's
guess
like,
what?
"I also poisoned you with the tea.
I also poisoned you the first time, and you didn't even know it. So there, nana nana boo boo," like they were saying earlier.
It was so weird. And they're like, "Why don't you just give us the antidote?" And he's like, "We would rather just die because that would be unwise."
Like,
What?
I can't admit to failure. I can't admit to being outsmarted. That's literally our whole thing. And Xaden's mom's over there like, "You did what?" And he's like, "Well."
That's our whole thing.
And also, and I'll add this to my list of plot holes later, but also that whole thing, Xaden's mom knew that they knew we were coming. So it's like, who told them? How did they find out? And it had weeks in advance for Xaden's mom to bake like 4 practice cakes before they got there. Like,
that's a good question.
Plot
How
hole.
did they find out? Yeah.
How did they find that out?
And then they go to the aisle with the luck trials, and everybody's got to draw a card. There's a stadium of people. It's like the fucking Coliseum. And they're like, "Okay, each of you pull a card. And are you lucky or are you not lucky? I don't know." Everybody pulls a card that has something on it, and they get something from the card.
It's a gift, whether it's a good or a bad.
Including a cat.
Oh my God, that's I said
Broccoli, the cat.
Trial by tarot. Oh my fucking God. Cackling at the idea that someone's just carrying around a kitten in their jacket in case anyone pulls the call card. You get a kitty. You arrow of death. You're dead.
Like, oh yeah,
what?
and also
what?
The very last person, Traeger, pulls a card with an arrow on it, and they kill him immediately. And I just did not care about that at all.
Didn't care, but we were supposed to care because Kat was like devastated. But everything up until then was like, you pick this tarot card and is like, "Oh, you got the hand card. I'm going to slap you across the face." Or, "You get the wine card, Mira. Here's a bottle of wine." Like, hey,
Yeah.
and like, but like, no, you can't have an audience with our leader until you just pick a card, any card, and then we'll head up the hill. Like, what the fuck is this? So stupid.
Pick a card before you
What?
talk to the guy.
What?
Like, what in the Wizard of Oz is this?
But literally, they say, like, and they all look around, they're like, "Oh, all of you were just gathered here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we heard you were coming, so a bunch of us just kind of come down here every day to see if we'll be here." Just
To see who lands in the Coliseum.
And one of those people who happens to be around happens to have a kitten in his jacket to offer the person with the claw card.
Again, it was like she was trying to copy other books. Like, she was like, "Okay, I'll have like each aisle has like a trial, and they have to go through all of these trials to get to this
Except that
point."
concept makes no sense for the story that we're in the world that we're in. It makes no sense.
So we have all of this build up to get to find the Irids. And we finally get to the point with Irids. And it is the most anticlimactic thing ever.
My God, yes. It's over in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, so anticlimactic. And then they just go back to school. The Eras refer to Andarna as the Criterion Dragon. They say that they leave her behind so that she can determine if the humans and the dragons have progressed since the Great War. What?
She's like
she's
their
a
dragon
baby.
Jesus.
Okay,
Like-
yeah, she's a dragon Jesus, but whatever. But she doesn't actually have any idea that that's what they want from her. So how the fuck?
Right, like they didn't leave her. Right, they didn't leave her an instruction manual, and then they're getting all on Violet, like, "You abomination," and she's like, "I didn't know she was a baby. How is
That
I
is
supposed
also
to know that?"
plot holy too, because Andarna
Yeah.
remembers all of this lore from being in the egg, but she doesn't know
Right?
why she's there.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then when
weird.
she says, "Oh yeah, I'm an Irid scorpion tail," but then when she gets there, everybody's like, a gasp. What have you done to your tail? It is not feathers. Why have you chosen that tail for yourself?
Well, I guess the Irids are supposed to choose the feather tail because it's a peaceful tail. But,
Yeah.
like, how's she supposed to fucking know that? Also, the Irids can become invisible and change the colors of their scales at will, and they are insulted that Andarna has chosen black as her color.
Yeah.
And that she doesn't shift the colors of her scales. So they're actually like rainbowy almost. And they can even shift their scales to be invisible. Because they appear in front of Violet. Like out of nowhere. The Eras also tell Violet that there's no cure for being Venin. I have a note for that. The Irids say this about Venin trading magic for the soul. Because she said Violet refers to it as a trade. And one of the Irids says, "It is not a trade. The soul is not kept by the earth as dark wielders steal its magic. The power exchange kills the soul one piece at a time, and death has no cure." That's page 348. So they basically tell her in that moment, there's no cure for Xaden. Like, after he pulls enough from the earth, his soul will be dead.
Yeah.
His soul will die. And if you can't have a soul, you can't love. And so Violet's devastated by that because she's finding there's no cure for Xaden at this point.
But she's also still in denial about it, too. She's like, I don't believe that. I don't believe you.
And
I'll
then,
find
of course, Xaden shows up in the middle of this confrontation, and the Irids immediately can tell that he's a Venin. And they've disappeared since the Great War because they're a peaceful species. They don't believe in bonding with humans. And they see Xaden, and they immediately know that he's Venin, and they call him out on it in front of Riddick. And Riddick at this point doesn't know that Xaden is a Venin, and he is shocked that he has not been told this because they've made this pact about not lying or whatever, and Violet didn't tell him. And I have a note for that as well. How is Riddick the only guy making sense here?
Right? Yes.
Page 355. And this is in reference to Xaden. Only to become the very thing that we're fighting. The irony of it exists on so many levels, especially when you consider that he's the fucking Duke of Tyrrendor now. His arms fall to his sides. He could tear our kingdom, our province apart from within. He could deliver us to the Venin on a silver platter. Barlow was nothing. We have a dark wielder sitting on the Serenin. And then on page 357, he gets in Violet's face. He clasps my shoulders. Not good enough. Give me a real logical line that he has to cross for you to walk away, and I'll keep the secret. I'll help you scour every fucking book you can find. I'm here for the I'm going to save my man at all costs mantra, and will be on your side in this horrifically dangerous situation. If you can just acknowledge that there's a breaking point, you can put all your faith in him as long as you leave a little logic for yourself. Riddick. Fucking Riddick. The only person I like in this book next to Mira.
Oh, right. And also, I actually have a note about Mira. On page 256, Violet randomly says this, but annoyed to all shit that runes are the only thing that Mira is willing to talk to me about. And I said, did I miss something? Are her and Mira fighting? Like, what was that? And then it's never mentioned.
The only thing I know is that Mira was kind of frustrated with her because she didn't like the team that she picked to go isle hopping. But that was the only thing that I thought that they had a little conflict over.
Yeah, but it's just kind of not. Oh, and also, I had a question. Why does, Taryn hate Xaden? On page 265, he says, I don't like your selection of mates, yet here we are. But, before Violet showed up, he's been bonded to Sorrengail for years at this point. And with the way that the mating bond works, obviously Sorrengail chose Xaden, and they have that connection and bond. So, I don't understand why Tyrion wouldn't feel almost equally protective of Xaden being Sorrengail's rider.
It all has to do with him being Venin. I don't think he had that much problem with Xaden before, but Xaden has put Sorrengail through a lot, and we don't know what he's put her through because we don't get to see any of those conversations. Yeah, there's probably all of these conversations between Sorrengail and Taryn that we have no idea about. And then on top of that,
why isn't there conversations? Because Sorrengail and Violet can speak, so why is she not tapping into Sorrengail to ask questions?
But only through Xaden.
Right, but Sorrengail can communicate with Violet in her mind. She doesn't want to. But I'm just saying, missed opportunity for a really interesting dynamic there.
Well, I think the fact that he turned Venin is enough for Taryn to say he's not of us anymore. He's not human anymore. You need to let him go. But also there's all of this complication with Sorrengail and all of that. It's a tricky situation for sure, because who knows what's going to happen, because Xaden doesn't actually need Sorrengail anymore, and then there's the bonds going on.
Yeah. I just felt like it was such a missed opportunity, because also Sorrengail is another female dragon, and I think that Violet and Sorrengail can specifically relate to each other because Xaden is their person, right? Mm-hmm. So you would think that there would be, what a missed opportunity for some really cool dynamics to happen between Violet and Sorrengail in this book.
The Eras decide, well, we're not going to help you because you're working, you're not one of us, Andarna. You're a scorpion tail. You bonded with this person.
You've aligned with humans.
She's using you. She even used you when you were basically an infant. They like war. We want peace. They want to fight. We don't want that. And also Xaden's a Venin, and you guys are basically all bonded together, and we're not going to align ourselves with you. And they just leave. They just leave them there. And in the next scene, they are back at Basgiath.
Literally.
They are immediately back at Basgiath. Here's my note. Could not even believe it. Page 366. After all of that buildup, searching, and finding the Irid's line, the line and the rest of us go back to class had me ripping out my hair. I could not believe it.
Unbelievable. And that 366, that's almost 400 pages worth of this being the filler of the book, and it was just for nothing.
And they immediately, they're like, while they were gone, the Venin overtook a large city, killed 25,000 people on a raid while they're out looking for the Irids, and they get home and they're like, Queen Mira is dead. And that's the end of the chapter. And I was like, don't care. Don't care about Queen Mira. We had her for 5 seconds.
Also, when we finally do find the Irids, and you finally get to see this build up, because Andarna is thinking of them as her family, and then we're finally going to get some lore or some reason why, she was left behind by herself, and nothing happens. And I wrote down, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. And Darna is telling her story to the dragons, and then it's like, God, we can never just be there for that moment, and then it fast forwards, and I'm like, can we she never lets us see any of those things play out. Like, she's like, and Darna proceeds to tell them her whole story from the egg. And I'm like, I want to hear that part. Can I hear that part?
Yeah, no. No, you can't.
No, we can't.
No.
Also, can we talk about how is it that Andarna's harness works? Like, that was one of the things that has always confused me. Like, how is she getting herself in and out of that thing? Like, oh, just harness up. Like, what is she? She just, like, it's so, like, it's like Veggie Tales where they just, like, the magic is, like, close enough. And it's just like, I'll just...
Like Veggie Tales. They don't have hands, but they do a lot of things like brush their hair.
You know what I mean? Like, she has, like, no hands or fingers, and she has got wings. Like, what does the harness look like, and how is she, like, getting herself in and out of it by herself? I don't understand the mechanics of that. And it trips me up every time they reference it, which is a lot.
I've almost completely stopped taking notes on page 400. No point, just filler, and more filler.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going anywhere. Like, I at that point, I was like, I'm done. Like, usually we take really detailed notes throughout the entire book. Yep. And at that point, I was like, I just don't even care.
I did about the same thing. I don't have many. I don't have many more because I'm like, I just I can't. One thing I wrote down. I said, every time someone random shows up, she just uses other characters to describe the new characters or things. Like, the same height as Sawyer, or the same coloring as Ree, or the same build as Xaden, or the size of Sorrengail. Like, just, but I noticed that a lot.
When we're getting to the end, Andarna leaves. The Irid comes and they're like, we want to take you home with us for 7 years. And she's like, okay. And just abandons Violet.
Yeah.
On the spot. Tairn has bonded with her first, so the fact that Andarna has left Violet, because it's only supposed to be 12 hours of time that they're apart before you start feeling the loss from the bond with your dragon. She says, I'm going, and then Violet immediately has there's a possibility moment, like from Twilight.
I thought the same thing. I was like, here we go. Here it is again. Possibility.
And she gets very, very depressed and closes herself. And she's like, I can't function without my dragon. And then Yarros goes in again, and she unveils this thing that Tairn is so worried about Violet's well-being that he has completely opened up their bond 100%. Is never closing her out from any conversation that he's having with other dragons, even meetings he's having with the Imperium. And we don't get to see any of that, of course. It's just randomly mentioned. And she's just depressed and bad, won't get out of bed, won't eat. And everybody's worried about her. And then all of a sudden, Tairn's like, a horde approaches from the east. There's a foul voice in the air. And it's just like immediately in battle.
Also, you don't have time to lay in bed being depressed. And there's like, leave her alone. Like, you're not supposed to survive the death of your dragon or the loss of your dragon. But, like, she didn't die. She left her.
Right before the battle starts, a random character, Lynx, which I think is one of the first years, one of Sloane's friend, randomly manifest the shadow wielding, just like Xaden, which is almost because there hasn't been a lightning wielder and shadow wielder at the same time since the Great War, which is the first war with the Venin. And obviously Xaden is turning Venin, so it almost brings to fact, like, oh, do we really even need Xaden anymore? Because now it's like the universe has realized that Xaden is Venin and he is not going to be a channeling from a dragon anymore. So it has, like, balanced itself out. The universe has kind of corrected the loss of Xaden with this new signet with Lynx, and Xaden immediately is like, well, that solves a huge problem because I don't need to be here anymore. If something happens to me, it's like the magic of the universe knows that we need another shadow wielder
Yeah.
And that they don't,
because
that if I'm not here, the replacement for my powers, there's somebody else that can take over for me.
Yeah, because unlike other signets, lightning and shadows specifically, it makes it seem like there's only one ever at a time.
Yeah, usually.
So since Xaden, because at one point Xaden channels quite a bit more, and he's going more dark, and so yeah, that happens.
So the combat starts, right? My note for that is conversation on conversation on conversation during combat. Even during combat, they're talking and talking and talking. And I just want to add in here, too, that they're also doing that even when they're having sex. Xaden and Violet, they're just talking.
It's super, like, and then just like, okay, enemies on the battlefield are not just going to sit back and be like, okay, now we have to, okay. So they have an altercation because Theophany forces Violet's hand when she kidnaps Mira.
Yes.
And to, once again, lure Violet out. And she straight up slits Mira's throat. Straight up slits her throat. And then just stands back and lets them all do all the things needed to do to try to save Mira. Like, that would not happen. No. And again, Theophany just lets them go. Again, like, it's a trap for Violet. And then it's just
like she's trying to force Violet to wield. She's trying to force Violet to turn venom. But Violet's like, no, I won't ever do it. And she doesn't. And then also, they have to use Sloane as a siphon for Brennan to get more power to save Mira, and they save her. Of course they do, because nobody important dies.
Like, right when they're like, and then they slit her throat, I wasn't even fazed by it even a little bit. I'm like, she'll be back.
Yeah.
And then my other thought was, and if she's not, then like, fuck everything else just like this book. Fuck this book. Like,
by the time they're done with the battle at the end, randomly, the Irids show up with Andarn, and they're like, we're going to power the Wardstone now. You're welcome. And then Andarn is just back. They don't explain any of that.
They don't have a conversation.
No.
Like,
none of it's explained.
Andarn being like, I know that must have hurt you, but this is why I had to do it really quick, and we're back, and blah, blah, blah. Like, just nothing. Just no payoff. There's no payoff to anything.
I said this in Iron Flame, and I think it's still relevant in this book. It's like when you're playing house with your friends when you're a kid, and you want something to happen, so you just make up a reason for it to make sense. That's exactly 100%. How all of this felt at the end.
Yep.
By the time that we got to the end of that final battle, I just wanted the book to be over. I was like, I don't care about any of this. I'm so done. Just like the first two books, you start to get random POVs for the last, 6 chapters.
Yeah, that was really random.
You know, you've been wanting it and craving it all this time, and then you just get this random Rhiannon chapter, random Imogen chapter.
Because again, we have to be there for the Quinn death, which I didn't care about because we don't really see. The only way we really know who Quinn is just her name on the page. That's about all that we know about her.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but during the battle scene, they literally just start. I was like, what the fuck is even happening? They're just yelling out numbers. Like, just random numbers of, the numbers of venom that are still left. 5, 6, 12, now they're 17, 8. I was like, what the... it just kept going, and I was like, this is so fucking weird. Like, how would you even... They're saying the numbers so quick, how do you even have time to count them?
Well, I think that was Taryn letting her know how many ones each strike of her lightning killed. But again, like 16, like how did you count 16 in like 1 second? Like, oh, 16 down.
I thought that was
like,
so
stop
hilarious.
trying to make this Lord of the Rings like that's 3 already. Like, I'm on 17.
My note for that is 4 laughing emojis. Stop. Just odd.
Here's my quote during this battle. LMFAO, the visual of Violet just throwing a rock at Theophany during their boss battle is cracking me up.
Oh, you find out during this final battle with Theophany that the Prince Cam is a precog and he can predict the actual future. Like, he knows.
And he didn't just have a conversation with her, be like, hey, guess what? No, everything is just veiled in, like,
mystery.
So stupid.
Because that would just be, like, why would he want to tell her that? Instead, let me give her some vague clues that she might use. What?
Right? Also, during the battle, this is actually my last note. I have a couple other ones that I haven't read yet, but this is my last note that I read for the... Am I the only one thinking to myself, where are the adults? Like, like, I know that this is Basgiath and, like, the college and all that, but, like, what about their grown-up army? Like, the people who have already, like, graduated Basgiath, like, the ones with years and years of battles and experience under their belt, like, to the biggest threat the world has ever seen. Like, why are a bunch of second and third years on this battlefield and not, like, their actual army?
Oh my god, that's a great question. Where are they?
Because, like, they presumably have an army of Basgiath graduates somewhere in the world, right? Like, where are the grown-ups?
Oh my god, Tiffany, you just completely destroyed the entire plot with that one question. Where the fuck is the actual army?
Where's everyone else? Where's their actual army? Like, it's not just them. Like, why are they here?
I never thought about that, but it's like the most basic question. What the fuck happens after you graduate? You just sit around?
Where are the grown-ups? Where are all the grown-ups? Where are the rest of the army? Like, why would the students be...
So Xaden ends up channeling. He completely turns total Venom. He's no longer an initiate. He has the veins in his face, like he is Venom fully. And he leaves with Sorrengail, and Sorrengail leaves with him. What happens with Taryn and Sorrengail? No idea. What's gonna happen? We don't know. The last line of the book, this is my note, dumbfounds me. He's gone. I tried to fumble my foggy brain through the overwhelming shock, but I can't think straight. How long have I been missing? 12 hours, Brennan answers. What did you do? My head snapped towards Imogen, and a deep sense of foreboding takes root in my chest. She slowly lifts her gaze to mine. What you asked me to. That's the last line of the book. What does that even mean?
Because presumably, Violet goes from being on the battlefield to, shocker, waking up with no context to anything going on. Oh, but now a ring is on her finger, and then she gets a scroll in the mail to congratulate her on her official marriage to Xaden that she has zero memory of. But apparently Imogen has... No, not Imogen?
Yeah.
Yes. I just did what you asked me, but also this came with a memory loss, I guess.
Yeah.
On the courtyard, like on the gravel. She's like, oh, I don't know, where have I been?
Obviously, Imogen erased something that we don't know about. Don't know. And it's, by the way, Rebecca Yarros has said it could be up to 2 years until her next book. She said she's just going to wait for it to come to her. She's still figuring it out.
No plan.
That's all the notes that I have for our book discussion. Do you have any more?
I have a couple more, but
Okay.
only a couple. I wrote down, okay, I am so sick of everyone shitting on Dane for no reason through the whole book. Like, he has more than proved himself.
Yeah.
In the last book, like, why is everyone being so mean to him? Like, page 141. For better or worse, my fate rests in the hands of Dane Atos. Like, he hasn't already proven that he has saved your life and, like, gone to bat for you. Page 478. How much are we trusting Atos these days? Bodhi says as he runs towards us. Not enough for what he just saw, Xaden answers. Or on page 480, Sloane says to him after he helps the whole siphoning situation, she just says, fuck off, Atos. Like, why is everyone hating on him? Like,
I don't get it.
I don't get it. Like, it's just, I don't know. I was just really bugged by it.
Yeah.
And then the last one I wrote, OMG, they actually said it. LOL. The middle school jargon in Iron Flame that I was talking about, like not being able to talk to other dragons on page 503. I scoff. Tell Kruth to tell Quinn that I'm perfectly fine. Here's my list of plot holes. One of them I mentioned earlier about like the wards and the venom and how that all works, because Xaden's still able to channel within the wards, and none of those rules make sense. Also, Andarna is an Irid, so why couldn't she have just fired the ward stones because she is one?
Great question.
Why did we need to go on the search for the other one? Like, I know she wanted to know her family, but like she could have fired the wards just as easily as the other one because she is an Irid.
Yep.
Plot hole.
Plot hole.
If Jack Barlow turned himself on the mountain to save himself, why did he also need Nolan to spend months mending him? Like, I know that's not specific to this book, but it just made me think of it. Like, how did he have time? What was the point? He's so stupid.
He was struck by
Also,
lightning and crushed under the weight of a mountain. He is fucking
the weight of a mountain.
The weight of a mountain.
Plot hole / potential writing error, because it's never explained. More than once, she refers to their dad as Asher Daxton instead of Asher Sorrengail. More than once.
Huh.
Like, is there more to that? Like, did he take Lilith's last name? Like, I don't know. We don't know. But, like, more than once, that is referenced. Also, plot hole for that initial Venin battle. How did the Venin specifically know who Marin was and who her family is when they've only just arrived at that outpost out of the blue? Makes no sense. Like, why they would target a specific, because they had no way of knowing who was in their group to target their specific person. Also, plot hole, if the Venin wanted to drain the magic from everywhere and everyone, why would they go around burning whole cities to the ground and losing out on all that magic to feed on? Like, it's so pointless. Like, oh, they wiped out a city of 25,000 people, but like, why would they do that instead of harnessing and soaking up all of that magic? They just set it. They set it on fire. Finally, if Xaden was just an initiate, that implies that there is a way to reverse the transition at that point, because there's like, well, I'm only an initiate, which means I haven't crossed the point of no return. So why does he need a cure if he hasn't all the way turned, if he's only initiate? Because they
you've
said
already traded your soul. That's what they said.
But not the whole thing, just a piece. But they also say that like, well, I'm only an initiate. That's why my eyes don't stay red, because like I'm close to turning, but I haven't actually turned. Like,
because
I'm just in the
eyes,
gray area.
Because she needed a reason for him to be able to go back to class. That's why.
That's why. All right. Quotes. From the dumpster fire that was this book.
We have come to the end of our book discussion, and we're going to read the quotes that we have taken from the book that we want to share with you guys, and then move on to 1-star reviews from Goodreads and our final thoughts and ratings.
Also, we would love to hear your favorite quote or worst
Your
quote
most hated
of the book. Let us share your quotes with us, too. Leda, you want to go first?
Sure, page 7.
Oh, mine's on page... My first one's on page 7, too.
This is Andarna and Tarn. Andarna starts out here. Your wings won't hold the weight of this ice. Andarna blatantly mocks him. And yet yours miraculously carry the burden of your ego. Tarn says, go find a sheep and let the adults work. I like Tarn.
That's my quote.
We did
really?
it.
Yep, that was my first quote. Go find a sheep. And I feel like that's the only time we get a bit of Tarn's Tarn-ness in this book. Even Tarn just
we don't get a ton of Tarn.
Even Tarn fell flat in the book. It's really such a bummer, man. Page 17. Violet acknowledging that she sucks. I've always been far more accurate with daggers than my own power.
Ah, yeah.
Yep.
Page 15. Actually, I like this quote. Pain isn't a competition, I assure him. There's always enough to go around.
Page 84, during their air battle with the wyvern. Stay back! I shriek. The fear burns through my bones like acid as we're ripped outward by centrifugal motion. That's a word. Centrifugal.
Page 17. Bring their bodies outside once you're done killing them so we can roast them for fun, Andarna suggests.
Page 92. Tarn reacting to Violet crying. Do not dehydrate on my account.
Page 111. This is Rhiannon. You and Ryerson bicker like you've been married for 50 years and neither of you wants to do the dishes.
So appropriate. This is page 170. Violet is getting a menacing note from Theophanie. Violet. Oh, this is also goes in with a plot hole that I meant to mention earlier. Violet, just a reminder that while I want you to come of your own free will, I'm capable of taking you whenever I wish. Why do you not ask me for the answers you so desperately seek? Love, T. And then she just goes, Theophany, my stomach hollows. That was one thing that I did, like, right when Theophany.
Theophany.
My name is Theophany. Be verified. Be very verified. I could take you, like, literally whatever.
It's so juvenile.
It's so juvenile.
The
like, what in the CW is this diet? Like, what in the CW? But I thought when Theophany first made her first appearance and she was saying all these cryptic things to Violet, my first thought was like, oh, are we going to do this kind of interesting, like, all, like, not all Venom are bad, because she's kind of like, there's like this mysterious thing that we don't know, that she's actually going to become an ally because she's like, hey, listen, like, all you got to do is ask. And then the entire book, Violet never asks. Like, anytime that they're monologuing or fighting, she's like, don't you want to know the things that I know? And she's like, whatever. And then Theophany is not just like, hey, listen, so here's the thing that you don't want to hear. Like, just say it. Like, what is the thing? Like, it's just like pointless drama.
Page 129. This is Violet lusting for Xaden. I've always loved him in uniform, but there's something about seeing him in tight-fitting sparring gear, swords strapped across his back, that makes me instantly wish this was a private teaching session.
She's so cringy. It's so cringy. Page 173, trying to show his other signet to Violet with a fucking orange. How did you do it? I've always been able to draw water out of the air, he says. Plus, I get bored waiting for Sorry to wake up when he rests, no offense. And if there is one thing healers are good at, it's leaving fruit lying around. So I realized I could freeze the fruit, or I could freeze the water in the fruit. Because everybody knows healers are known for just leaving fruit lying around.
That's so stupid. Page 178. This is Mira after Violet chooses her squad at the Cinnamon. You get one chance to form your own squad, and you choose your ex, your current lover, the quadrant's resident smartass, 2 people who have tried to kill you in the past year, and whatever Dane is. These are your choices for the most important mission any writer could possibly undertake.
Mira is the only good character in this book.
Also, why did they not assign for her to take grown-ups?
Where are the grown-ups?
Yeah, where are the grown-ups?
Where are the grown-ups?
Well, they're just
they're
doing their own thing, I guess.
They're not around. Okay.
They're not around.
They're not around. Page 175, Violet is arguing with Markham over where to search for the Irids. And he's like, we should go over here. And then Violet says, you don't speak. I snap, meeting his gaze for the first time in months. Not to me. As far as I'm concerned, you have the credibility of a drunkard and the integrity of a rat. You dare complain about missing 6 years of information on Aretian when you've hidden centuries of our continent's history from public knowledge? The audacity!
Audacity!
You have the credibility of a drunkard. Like, okay, what 20-something-year-old has ever said the word drunkard? Who has said the word? Have you ever said the word drunkard? You are a drunkard.
Many times, my good man.
With the integrity of a rat. Like,
the Duke!
That is ridiculous.
Page 198. Anyone feel like our home is a completely dreary shithole? Riddick asks, as traffic pauses us outside a cloth merchant, and I find myself staring at a bolt of shimmering black silk, so diaphanous, it's almost silver.
There it is.
Diaphanous.
Too. Diaphanous. Iron Flame is the one that started us on the diaphanous road.
Right.
And we've seen it in a couple other books since then. And I saw it in this book. I'm like, there it is again. Diaphanous.
That's our word. That's one of our words.
That's going to be one of our words.
We're always looking for diaphanous.
Page 191. Seeing sea life for the first time. Ooh, I wonder what they taste. And Darna starts. No. My protest catches me by surprise. They're dolphinum. And they're just too pretty to be your snack. Like, you can't just call them dolphins. They're dolphinum. Stupid.
Page 219. This is when they get interrupted during sex by a horde of people outside their door. This is Xaden, page 219. To what do we owe the honor of a visit from every single one of you? He asks. And I was like, oh my god, that's how I feel most of this book.
Right.
That one line.
100%. Page 209, Dane being Boromir. One does not just... That's the same one. I knew it would be this. I knew it was going to be the same one. I knew this was going to be the same one.
Lord of the Rings.
One does not just deal in dragons, let alone take babies to the Isles that don't have magic.
One does not just walk into Mordor.
One does not just walk into Mordor. I cackled when I saw, like, one does not, like, oh my god.
I love that we same-brained that. I was like, oh my god, Lord of the Rings, writing that down immediately.
Right when you said that earlier and you said you had one for later, I was like, I know. I just know it's the one does simply not.
One does not
One does not just simply walk into Mordor or steal dragons.
Page 234. This is Taryn. I resent the implication that I am given to melodramatics.
That's a good one. Page 199, cringy Violet lusting after Xaden. Xaden says, Aratia is the second most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He hands me his reins, turning those gorgeous gold-flecked onyx eyes into weapons, capable of melting my underwear straight off my body as he looks up at me. And my home is first. Yeah. I flat out liquefy. Yeah.
That is terrible.
Cringe.
Oh my god.
What is that?
How
Gross.
did I not note that? I'm so disappointed in myself. Page 303, this is when they're talking to the unwise people. You know, I'm talking about, like, in the trials or whatever.
Yeah.
Xaden's mom. Page 303. It is unwise to venture over water when we know next to nothing about what lurks within its depths. And this is Violet. This is the next line. They're aquaphobic?
Page 211. Cringy Violet. It slips completely when he opens the door and leans, wearing nothing but a towel wrapped around his hips. Gods, he is perfectly beautiful. Wet hair, still a little scruffy, water droplets clinging to the lines of his muscles, abs for days and days and days.
Dead.
And the last days is like italicized. Like, she means it. Days and days and days, guys.
It's
days.
so Gen Z.
So, yeah, it's very... Put it into the... Yeah.
This is Taryn, page 338. Violet says to him, humans don't mate. I call after him. And Taryn says, another sign of your inferiority.
On page 491, the situation has real shit show potential. Like, way to undercut, like, how severe this is. Like, no, it's not just a shit show. Like, this is the end of the world. Okay. Page 407, cringy Xaden this time.
Ooh.
My control when it comes to you is an illusion. You are the temple where I worship. I live for the clench of your thighs, your breathy little cries, the feel of you coming around my cock, and above all else, the sound of my 3 favorite words from this mouth. Keeping my hands off of you has been the feat of my life, and you have the power to shred my discipline with a single fucking touch.
That's so dramatic.
It's so ridiculous.
I have 4 quotes in my list, which I call the Riddick Hour.
Ooh!
Yes,
right.
And these are all
I'd
quotes.
watch the Riddick Hour.
Yes, these are all quotes from Riddick, my favorite character in this book. Everyone's favorite character in this book. If you have seen any of the memes, it's tracking. Page 132. This is Riddick to Violet, the first day that he's a professor in teaching class. He looks to Violet. I'm either completely in love with your boyfriend or utterly terrified of him, Riddick says under his breath. Not sure at the moment. Page 312. This is one of my favorite scenes in the book. They're having the poison dinner and the cook throws a knife at Riddick. And for a moment, you think that he's been stabbed.
Yeah.
And Violet's having like a panic moment because they don't have a healer with them. They don't have a mender with them. But it just goes through his jacket and it ruins his flight jacket. And he doesn't get stabbed. And he's like, I'm fine. Riddick flies at the cook and my hands slip off of his stomach. Asshole, Riddick shouts. And I pivot to see him plow his fist into the cook's face. I have 4 uniforms, but only 1 fucking flight jacket, and I punch. Hate, punch, sewing. Dead. I was literally like, oh my god,
I
love
was
this.
laughing too.
And this is all
and
happening.
This is for my flight jacket, and this is for my friends.
And this is all while they're trying to find the antidote. Chaos.
Because Garrick is like physically dying of poison at this moment.
He's like
every
how
moment
dare
is
you
of the
fuck
essence.
with my flight jacket?
And Violet's like, oh my god, another one. We've lost another one. One of my best friends. And like, no, he's like, oh shit. Did you like think that? Oh, got it. It's okay, babe. I'm fine.
Page 147. This is to Kat and Traeger. Riddick says, oh gods, just stop flirting and fuck already. Love that. Page 242. They're sitting in battle brief. The flyer scoffs. I don't do second ears. Good thing I fuck like a third. Plus, I'm on the quest squad, which gives me additional boost of desirability.
Also, every time they said quest squad, I died laughing. Like, oh, I'm on the quest squad. so
That's my Riddick hour list. I love Riddick.
Love that. Riddick is the only one that felt like he had his voice from the first 2 books that actually felt like the character that we met initially.
Well, Mira too.
One. And Mira.
So I think we're done with quotes. And we're going to move on to 1-star reviews. Are you ready for 1-star reviews?
I'm so excited.
Oh, yes.
1-star reviews.
It's so satisfying and validating. I love them. I have so many. I have 3 pages of them. And I'm, yes.
1-star reviews. 1-star reviews. Star reviews.
So, 1-star reviews.
This is going to be deluxe.
Okay. Would you like some Goodreads stats?
I would love the Goodreads stats. I need them because I think that they are bought and paid for.
Okay, well, let's just talk about these Goodreads stats because I feel like there's no possible way this can really be accurate. But I'm just gonna go right in. The average rating of Onyx Storm is 4.28.
Fuck off.
Out of 417,000 roundabouts reviews. Most people rated this book 5 stars at 50%.
No.
The least rated this book 1 star at less than 1%. 5,661 people.
I've avoided everything. I have no idea. I'm so curious to know what other people think now that I've finished it.
Well, I'm going to be definitely paying more attention to what people think now. But in the past day or so, I've just been like watching all of the videos on TikTok and stuff. I haven't seen any positive ones.
Really?
The only positive ones I've seen are about Riddick.
Riddick was a redeeming part of this book. The only thing.
But we're going to get into it here. Here are the 1-star reviews from Goodreads. This is not all of them, but a chunk of them for sure. Clace says, I need to take a drink of water because this is some reading. Hold on.
I am excited.
Clace says, this was the most boring, dumbest fucking shit that I have ever read in my life. It actually made Iron Flame look decent. Onyx Storm felt like a kid lost in a supermarket trying to find their mother. This book was so disappointing. Like, I don't understand the need to drag this series for 5 books, especially when it was supposed to be a trilogy to start out with. But apparently, after the success of the first book, it suddenly became a 5-book series. In other words, the perfect cash cow.
Boom. That sums it up. 100%. Yep.
Manus says, I need Imogen to use her powers and wipe all of my memories from this shit. Heather says, first of all, let me tell you how motherfucking tired I am of the internet and all the motherfucking weirdo Super Yarros fans who try and bully you when your opinion differs from theirs. Respectfully, eat an eggplant. This book was all filler. No resolution in sight from the ending of Iron Flame. Can anyone tell me why the dragons in this book act like they're toddlers that need help from human mommy and daddy at every turn?
Yes, that was another thing I meant to mention earlier. Like, the weird sarcasm and just kind of blasé when they're like, dragons we're above you. And they're just like,
Yeah.
I know you are, but what am I?
Anna says she is so brave for publishing this garbage.
Yeah.
Shell says sending hate from Ohio. Gree says I am all for banning books as if this is the only one. Wouldn't wish this atrocity on my worst enemy. It genuinely makes me want to never pick up another book ever again. It is. Kelly says, Violet and Xaden are dead to me. I am 100% done with Yarros, Violet, Xaden, and the insufferable banter. I rated Fourth Wing and Iron Flame 4 stars. I remember feeling conflicted about the rating as I found the story lacking, immature, and odd writing style, but went with the vibes and enjoyment only. But this book was secondhand embarrassment. Violet, I loved her with a passion, but what's happened to her? She made me rage beyond rage, sick of her POV, sick of her badass ways that verge on being obnoxious and immature. I have never experienced such a shift in my feelings towards a character like this. I feel like I've missed a book where she became this annoying girl. Xaden, bored out of my brains. Jealousy looks bad on this boy. If his skilled tongue or skilled fingers got mentioned again, I'd dry up drier than a raisin. Mr. Moody Eyes crossed his arms and smirked even more times in this book than the previous, and not even his shadows could save this boy from my hatred of him. Well done, Yarros.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I thought many times, like, not even Xaden can save this book.
No, he can't. Mia says, ChatGPT is so bad at writing. But Rebecca Yarros is even worse.
Oh, savage. But
Right?
probably not wrong.
Destiny says, update, read the book. This was the absolute stupidest ending. The whole book was poorly written. I've lost all faith in the book community. How was this a bestseller and so highly regarded? There are so many plot holes and redundant banter. Really gives AI vibes.
Boom.
Sissy
I'm
says...
glad I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, right? I thought the same thing. So, you're definitely not. Sissy says, finished. Unfortunately, what a blatant money grab. What should have been a solid trilogy has been dragged out into 5 bloated books because apparently squeezing every dollar out of a franchise matters more than storytelling. After Iron Flame, I was so ready for political scheming, fantasy, and dragons with personality, right? Wrong. Instead, I got 520 pages of filler, flat characters, and a romance so lifeless it made me physically ill.
Yes. Can I just say, and I meant to say this earlier, that it got to the point where even the sex in the book, I didn't even care about when it got to it because I didn't care anymore. And it was so cringy and out of place in the story. Like, I didn't even care about the spicy scenes.
I felt nothing in my vagina.
Nothing.
Like you when you read like a nice smutty scene, you're like, oh, my vagina feels nice.
like
no, nothing.
I felt nothing.
My vagina. This book made my vagina indifferent.
Like, again, you know it's bad when not
it's
even
dry as
Xaden.
a fucking raisin, just like what Jagada's Books says, my Hoover has more chemistry with fallen hairs behind the couch than Violet and Xaden. Honestly, Sophie says,
Yay! Of course she had to come back. Sophie started us on our second episode.
Yes, with Fourth Wing. Yeah.
It's only appropriate that she makes an appearance in Onyx Storm because she also had one for Arm Flame too.
And just so you guys know, if you search up, it's Honestly Sophie, Sophie, one word. And she's actually pretty famous on YouTube. She has almost 8K followers on there. She's got a TikTok.
Get it, girl.
Goodreads. So I followed her on everything. I just love her. Honestly, Sophie says,
oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Turning venom made Xaden eat ass.
Yeah. Yep.
Taylor says, this book feels like someone is trying to describe the color brown to me for 500 pages. And this is my last one. Ketty says, I looked into his onyx eyes with their glittering onyx and his chilled onyx towards our onyx bond with his onyx bracelet. Congrats. If you've read that sentence, you've also read this book. I saved you 550 pages of garbage writing. Done. 1-star reviews. Yay!
1-star review.
They did not disappoint.
They did not. There
Also,
was that
it's
one
nice
point
to feel like there's other people who agree with us.
Yes.
That we're not crazy.
We're not the only ones.
Yeah.
You know, I was careful to not look at too many reviews, but I did see one that specifically said something like, don't Goodreads and Rebecca Yarros don't take my review down. You have your 5 stars bought and paid for. So it sounds like there's a conversation in the book community of people's 1 stars being deleted.
Are you serious? I'm gonna look into that.
I can't say with any sort of certainty, but I just read that in one of the reviews because it sounds like they'd had this problem before. Like, stop deleting my 1-star reviews. Like, you have enough that you've bought and paid for with your 5 stars. But that is a conversation that I saw happening.
Ugh, gross.
And then based on your Goodreads stats, I'm like,
yeah, that seems very disproportionate. Also, I did notice, because I've always been curious about this. I went and looked at Onyx Storm on Goodreads before it even came out, and there was over 50,000 reviews or ratings of Onyx Storm before it even was released. Of 5 stars.
Yeah.
Which seems unethical to me.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was my personal... I saw that with
that.
my own eyes. I was like, this book is not out yet. Like...
Well, and I know that they have, like, advanced reader copies. And they have advanced reader copies where they, you know...
People do that, though. They do that with on Letterboxd, like, for movies. They do it on video games. They go to these websites. Even movies, they'll rate 5 stars or 10 stars or the highest stars because they're excited about it.
It yet.
Yeah, and they
yeah,
haven't
they're
even
like, oh, I'm
watched
so
it
excited
or-
for this book. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little disappointing to me. And that's all we have. Final thoughts and ratings.
Go for it. I went
You want me
first
to go
last
first?
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is our final thoughts and ratings. So I'm going to give my rating and my reason for my rating. Tiffany will give hers, and then we'll do a group rating for Bookmates Book Club, and that will be our final rating. So here we go. I'm going to go first. Went into this book with high hopes, but was immediately frustrated within the first 2 chapters. The book was flooded with mundane characters, yet severely lacked character development. We are on this long, epic journey with Violet, who somehow seems like a completely different character than the first 2 novels, and it's as if she's become another person overnight. The endless conversations between the dozens of characters is constant and never ends, even during sexual encounters and battle. Even though we have all of these conversations constantly, it feels as though the characters are not even contributing anything of value or progression to the plot. And the conversations that you yearn for or want to hear are non-existent. The proverbial ball is dropped over and over and over again, creating an environment that I simply got tired of being in. This felt like a cash grab to me. I don't care about these characters and the structure and the execution of the story. It has made me completely uninterested in investing my future time into this series. Personally, I would have DNF'd this book 200 pages in if it were not for our book club selection and podcast, and I am not willing to continue with Yarros on any future books, not just Imperium, period. I am tired of her writing. I don't like it. My own rule of thumb for a DNF book or series is a 1-star rating, and I will be holding this book to that standard. My rating is 1 star.
Well said.
Your turn.
Well said.
Thank you.
Whew. Woof. This book was a mess. I'm really sad that the only positive thought I had about the book was when it was finally over. And it's so frustrating and sad to see such an amazing world and characters totally wasted. The writing is just not there. It felt robotic, devoid of any emotions or the voices of the characters that we came for. There's just nothing here in the book. The dialogue is bad. The world building is bad. It collapses in on itself like a dying star, and it's just beyond frustrating. I have never struggled through a book the way that I struggled through this book, with equal parts. This is terrible, but also the frustration of it could have been so amazing because it's all right there. And this entire book, this entire series just feels like the epitome of a missed opportunity. None of the magic that we came for is here. The writing, I'm sorry, it's terrible. And honestly feels like it was either ghost written, because the writing in this book also feels completely separate from the writing style of the first 2 books. It feels like a completely different author. It feels like completely different characters. There's plot holes for days. At the end of the day, I don't care. I don't care anymore. 1 star. And I do not take that lightly, because it has to be bad. And also, I would have DNF'd this if I was reading it by myself. And if not for specific to our book club and podcast, I would have DNF'd this book because I could not. And I will also not be continuing with, I can't do it. I cannot slog through another book.
Mm-mm.
I can't do it. Like, I don't care. I don't care. And it's really sad to see the implosion. So,
and also, like, we have canceled the continuation of this series on our podcast. This is the last book in the series that we will be covering. We are not going to be continuing with the series on here, even though it's going to be 2 years. Who knows?
It got to the point where it wasn't even fun to roast anymore. It was just like, it's so bad that it's not even fun to make fun of or like fun to roast. It's just more frustrating than anything else. And I just can't. I don't want to take the time.
Right. Yeah. It's a waste of time.
It's
and that's
a waste
how I
of
feel
time.
about it too. Yeah. So
that's how I feel. This is the first
star.
time we've ever rated anything 1 star on our podcast.
First time. Yeah.
Just how I'm stingy with my 5 stars. I also don't. I do not 1 star very often. But I gave Iron Flame 2 stars, and even at the time I felt that was generous. And this is nowhere near. Iron Flame was a good book compared to this, and that's saying something. And not.
It's even
good.
I gave Fourth Wing 5 stars. So for me, it's like, wow, like the amount that this series has tanked for me is as far as quality is massive. So group rating 1 star.
Group rating 1 star.
Yikes.
What a mess.
What a mess. Our first 1 star group rating.
Our first 1 star. That's pretty crazy that we're just shy of a year, only a couple months out of a year, and we've never had a 1 star on the podcast before.
Also, 1 star time, because a 1 star book can be a 5 star time.
We say that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do say that.
This is 1 star book, 1 star time.
Yes.
Yes.
100%. Super curious on everybody else's feelings. Like, maybe this is the one that people will actually like give us some 2 cents, because I'm really, really curious to delve more into the way that everybody else felt about this book, because I know we can't be the only ones.
So Tiffany, what are we reading for our April selection?
Our April selection is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. And this book is the winner of our contest for you guys to pick our book.
We had a recommendation contest in December, and Books in Tandem on TikTok won the contest, and they selected this book, A Fate Inked in Blood. So we are going to be doing it for our April selection, and I'm really excited because it's about
me too.
Vikings, and I love Viking shit.
I've been wanting to read this one for a long time, so that was perfect.
Yay.
Thanks, Books in Tandem.
Yes, thank you, and we can't wait to read it. I can't wait.
So excited. And that's going to happen on April the 30th.
Yes.
Yes. So read with us.
Read with us.
Read with us. And then also, if you're feeling like an overachiever, we're going to be double booked in April. We're also going to be reading, just for funsies, The Wedding People by Allison Esbach. And I'm really excited about that one too, because I've heard so many great things. I've had a few friends recommend it to me. It won the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2024, and it seems like it's going to be a good read. So if you're feeling adventurous and want to double book it with us, read that one too. And if you have thoughts and feelings and ratings on either of these books, The Wedding People or A Fate Inked in Blood, please email us at bookmatespcast@gmail.com and let us know what you thought of them. We want you to be part of the conversation. And if you want, we'll even read your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on the podcast. You can share it with all the other bookmates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for April.
Me too. It's going to be a good month. I feel like the wedding people is good for April too, because I feel like that's when wedding season's starting to kick off.
Right.
Too, so it'll be kind of appropriate. Yeah.
It is appropriate for the month.
Lita, where can the people find us?
Well, you can find us at www.bookmatespodcast.com. You can get to all of our socials from there, all of our episodes. So go there if you want us.
At this point, if you don't know where to find us, like, try harder.
Ooh.
Google will lead you there.
How dare you? Yeah, or you could just search for us on most platforms, and we're on there.
We're on all the things. And like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you want to take it a step further, you can also go on our website and support the show if you want to do that. There's a couple tiers you can choose from, and if you do something as kind as that, we'll rave about you on this here podcast, and we'll shout your name from the rooftops of our roofs.
We're done. We did it.
We're done, and God, thank God, I can't do it again. And I know we hadn't 100% decided, but I think that because we always try to like not talk about our feelings or things about the books until we're actually recording, just so it's organic. Fresh and our reactions to each other are completely organic.
Well, and it also makes better, like, if she loved it and I hated it, like, we've got to prove our points, you know?
Yeah.
It's part of the discussion. But
yeah. But I think that we kind of established, like, without talking, we used our own telepathic bond to decide, like, yeah, we're not doing this again, right? Like, yeah, no,
we're done. Yeah, we're done.
We're so fucking done. You guys would have to like put on like a full on petition, and like the only reason we're doing it is purely to roast it. But we would need a lot of like audience participation, and it would need to be like a whole thing. And you know, it's interesting because I feel like they've both put me in reading slumps, but in different ways. Because Iron Flame, I slogged through. Like, it took me a long time. I remember it took both of us a long time to finish that one because it was a struggle. Whereas this one, within the first few chapters, I was like, oh, this is bad. Okay, I need to plow through this as quickly as I'm like humanly capable of.
Yeah.
So it can be done. And even then, I finished it fairly quickly, but I still felt like I was on it forever. And I'm like, oh my God, this book will never be over.
Made me want to take a break from fantasy.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's so interesting because we just did When the Moon Hatched, and we both gave it 5 stars. And then to come to this one, it's like, okay, these are the tiers of fantasy, like how to successfully world build. We got more out of When the Moon Hatched as a first novel than all 3 of these combined.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know,
and they're both about dragons.
it feels really frustrating when some of the worst books that I have read are these like super big, like New York Times best-selling books, and I'm like, this is crap. This is crap. And I don't know. It's frustrating.
Like, what's making it good for people?
Right, and I'm genuinely, and this is why we ask you guys. Like, I'm genuinely curious for those of you who did like Onyx Storm.
Why?
What was the thing that you liked about it? Like, I genuinely want to know. Like, not in a condescending way. Like, I genuinely want to know because, again, we listen and we don't judge.
Yeah,
but tell us, please, because I don't get how anybody could read the book that we just read and give it a 5-star.
I'm super interested to listen to some of the other podcasts too about this book because there's so many out right now about Onyx Storm, and I'd like to know what some of their opinions were, if they liked it or not.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so I've been avoiding the internet about Onyx Storm. Anytime I see Onyx Storm related things, I've just swiped. So now I get to go through and kind of see what everybody else is saying about it. So I'm super curious.
Oh my God, this was fun. Was it? This was fun, but the book was not fun. This was better than the book.
It was fun to get it out of my system.
Right? It was
and
fun
put it
to
on
vent.
the shelf and never think about it again. I'll fanfic write my own version of the ending in my own head, and that will be better than anything that will come out in the future.
I would like to say, too, that it's pretty sad when the best part of the book is the sprayed edges on your shelf.
Yep.
It's like,
100%.
oh, well, I'm okay with buying it because it makes my shelf look nice. But,
yeah, it's my shelf trophy for the experience that we were made to go on.
we were made to go through. All right.
All right. Well,
that's a wrap, my friends.
That's a wrap on that one.
Oh, I love you.
I love you.
Midnight
I
here,
feel. Ooh, I feel good. I feel
feel
good, just
so
like,
much
bleh.
better. I was
I
so
feel so much
annoyed.
better. Like the rage bubbling inside. It just needs a place to go to.
Hey, we kept it
Whereas,
under
like,
4 hours.
Onyx Storm!
Onyx Storm.
Onyx Storm. I'm so excited to be done with it and to never think about it again.
It's over! Oh, thank God. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you, Bookmates, for being here. If you're still here.
Thank you, Bookmates. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome for the book choice of this month. Thanks for going on that journey with us if you did. And we'll see you next month.
We'll see you next month.
All right.
All right, friend. I love you. Good night. Good night, Bookmates. I'm gonna go to bed.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.